subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Candidates who were hit and fell to the ground without making a sound. They seem to be playing an elegy to hell on this sports field. The track and field players gritted their teeth and rushed to the other side with all their strength. But the first round of heavy balls was not the end. In order to ensure the accuracy of the shot at close range, some candidates in the shot put waited for the opponent to get close before taking their shot. The track and field candidates running in the front are among the fastest ones. The remaining players of the shot put who had not thrown their ball naturally let them go and turned their attention to the lagging guys who were coming from behind and were running out of energy. However, those guys are not fools. After seeing that there was no hope for them to pass the level, they immediately ran out of the venue. They will definitely not become a sitting duck for those guys on the other side. They throws and the other dodges. They runs and others aims. They can't escape even if they have wings. In short, after a lot of farce, the first round of exams officially came to an end. 64 people passed the 2 sports in total. The principal behind the loudspeaker clearly saw the number of people who passed the exam, including the number of people who passed the exam in other sports. The total number of people who passed the first round of the exam is 126. Well, it's not as bad as I expected. More than half of the members were eliminated. The principal was very satisfied with the results of the sports meet he organized. It is not just more than half. It is more than 2/3. The candidates who passed the exam with great difficulty kept complaining in their hearts. Okay, that's it for the first round of exam. The second round of exams will be held at the entrance to the back mountain behind the school. There will be examiners waiting for you there. That's it. If there's a chance in the future, we'll see each other again. Snap. As soon as the principal words fell, the sound from the loudspeaker was instantly cut off, as if he didn't want to stay even for a second longer. A group of candidates who were still in the venue were left speechless and looking at each other. No, it can't be said to be speechless. It turned out that the candidates from the track and field group were staring at the candidates from the shot put. They can't just pretend that nothing happened when that wave of heavy balls rained down at them. The latter was also fearless and glared back. A fight might break out on the spot in the next second. In this tense atmosphere. Oh, I forgot to mention that. At this moment, the principal's voice suddenly came out from the loudspeaker again. All candidates who fail to arrive before dark will be considered eliminated, and candidates who have been eliminated should not stay here. Otherwise, it will be regarded as hindering the normal progress of the exam and will be disqualified from participating in the Hunter exam in the future. Hurry up and get going. Candidates, click. Chapter 52, Second Round of Hunter Exam. The microphone was hung up again, and everyone looked up subconsciously. There were so many events in the sports meet that time passed very quickly. The sky had already darkened at this time. An array of afterglow from the sky was about to fall on the earth. Seeing this, no one dared to delay. They had to suppress their dissatisfaction and hostility and started running quickly towards the mountain behind the school. Those candidates who were eliminated will be dealt with by the staff of the Hunter Association. Under the setting sun, a group of candidates were running on the road as if they were their lost youth. In short, this large group of more than 100 people was running under the setting sun. The group successfully reached the entrance to the forest behind the school before dark. And there, someone was already waiting for them. More than 120? That's a pretty good number. A figure sitting upright on a large rock slowly opened his eyes. I'm the examiner for your second round of exams. This is a man wearing a white training suit with a serious expression. The untidy beard at the corners of his mouth does not make him look sloppy, but makes him look more mature. And still looks so familiar. Lon narrowed his eyes, looked up and down at the bearded uncle, and then, it's him. A figure flashed through his mind, and Lon remembered it. At this time, the bearded uncle also began to introduce himself. My name is Izanavi. He crossed his arms, his expression still serious. The second round of exams will be held in the jungle behind me. Ezreal. No, it's Izanavi. He's Kurapika's teacher. After passing the Hunter exam, Izanavi taught Kurapika about his nun. Facing Kurapika, his extremely stubborn disciple, Izanavi not only possesses unparalleled patience, but also has foresight beyond that of ordinary people. He also proposed restrictions and oaths, helping Kurapika to develop extremely powerful abilities based on the Scarlet Eyes. Although the Scarlet Eyes Emperor Time gains power by consuming lifespan, it is somewhat misguided. But that was Kurapika's own choice. Later, at Kurapika's invitation, he accepted the employment of the seventh prince of the Kaken Empire and became an undercover agent planted by the other party. Although he doesn't appear in many scenes, he is a familiar face in the later comics. At least, Lon glanced at the white blind box next to the other party. This blind box cannot be faked. The content of the exam is very simple. In the Ralpha forest behind me, there is an abundance of a rare mushroom called the Ralpha Red Mushroom. All you need to do is pick it and bring it to me intact. Izanavi introduced the rules in a deep voice. The time is before the sun rises because the Ralpha Red Mushrooms only appear at night. Once they sense a slight strong light, they will immediately shrink back. And because it emits a very fragrant spore when it emerges at night, it will attract many wild beasts and monsters, so it will grow next to another kind of poisonous fungus to confuse and protect itself. The poisonous fungus contains a highly toxic substance. If you're not careful, you'll be infected through the skin. The toxins contained in it are enough to kill 5 elephants. As far as I know, a famous gourmet hunter went in to pick mushrooms some time ago. In her words, there were less than 100 Ralpha Red Mushrooms left. So, good luck to you candidates. Izanavi didn't waste any time and announced directly in a concise manner. The second round of exams officially begins. After saying this, he didn't care whether the candidates could react or not and sat back on the big rock again, assuming the posture of practicing. It was as if he came here just to be a tool and read out the rules. It's the quiet and dark forest full of unknown dangers. Lon glanced through the entrance at the dark environment inside the forest. Although there are clues, the Ralpha Red Mushroom will release a strange fragrance. But the fragrance attracted many wild and ferocious beasts who wanted to snatch the mushrooms from our hands. And we have to differentiate between poisonous fungus and red mushrooms to avoid confusion and poisoning ourselves. At the same time, since there are so few of us, we also have to be on guard against other candidates who are waiting behind us. In one night, in this dark, unrestricted forest stage, anything could happen. As Lon looked through it, he collected the white blind box next to Izanavi. Get an ordinary white blind box. Do you want to open it? Open successfully. Gain picking and climbing tools. Source World. Ikki Sanlon. Ikki? A monk? Well, come to think of it, the white training suit that Izanavi is wearing is quite similar to the monk uniforms that Ikki and the others are wearing. The tools used for picking can also be used to shovel mushrooms. Lon shook his head and followed the other candidates who entered the forest one after another. The entire Ralpha forest is neither big nor small. Based on Land's preliminary observations, it is estimated that the forest ecological environment is similar to that of Whale Island where Gon is located. Among the beasts and monsters in the forest of Whale Island, the most ferocious in the water is the giant fish, and the most ferocious one on land is Roar. Along with the roars of wild beasts coming from the depths of the forest, there were also the screams of the candidates. Apparently, they had encountered a very dangerous creature in this forest, the fox bear. If it's a fox bear, it's really the best exam for a candidate. In Land's sight, there was a 2-meter-tall fox bear in front, staring at him. Chapter 53. What a pleasure it is to encounter such delicious apples. The fox bear is a ferocious beast that possesses a fox's agility and cunningness and the bear's strength. They are very hostile to humans and will often attack them when they encounter them. They are very dangerous and cannot be tamed. However, this ferocious beast is very suitable for examining whether a person can become a qualified hunter. Jing specially placed Gon on Whale Island, where Fox Bear roamed in the forest to train him. Kite and Gon met because of Fox Bear. This beast can be said to be a standard background beast. The only drawback is that it's hard to tell who's the hunter and prey. Plop. Lon shook his hands and glanced at the fallen fox bear. Or rather, he overestimated his own wisdom and strength. The fox bear is a creature that has the cunning of a fox and often thinks it is smarter and more powerful than its prey. Because of this, they often fall into traps set by humans who are inferior to them. Lon stepped over the huge body of the fox bear, took 2 steps forward, and smelled a fragrance at the tip of his nose. This fragrance is very eye-catching in this quiet, dark forest, like a torch in the darkness. When Lon rushed to the scene after smelling the fragrance, someone had already arrived early. It's him. The 3 candidates present were originally wary of each other, but when they saw Lon coming, their faces changed drastically. Lon was not the only one who came here after smelling the scent, but he is one of the most difficult, dangerous, and least wanted people they want to encounter. What a coincidence. Seeing this, Jaretta, who was carrying a bow and arrow on his back, gritted his teeth, clenched the bow and arrow in his hand tightly, and then let go weakly. Without saying much, he decisively evacuated into the nearby jungle. His instinct as a hunter told him that the man in front of him was not someone he could handle. Rather than losing his life here without knowing why, it would be better to look for other red mushrooms that are safer. Jaretta made a decisive choice, but the remaining 2 candidates looked hesitant. They looked like they wanted to leave, but were reluctant to do so. Go away. Lon looked at the 2 men expressionlessly. Isn't that too overbearing? Shishito, with long black hair and squinty eyes, looked unhappy. It's not like there's just one red mushroom here. It's okay for us to take one, right? That's right. The man next to him, Kinmi, with a short black haircut and small slits eyes, also nodded. Anyone who sees it gets a share, especially since we were here first. He pointed to the red colony of mushrooms growing on the big tree in front and echoed. Before I get serious, I'll give you 5 seconds to get out of my sight. Lon calmly took out the gun from his waist and held it in one hand. 5, 4. When they saw that Lon really started counting down, Shishito and Kinmi's expressions changed instantly. Without saying anything, they immediately rushed out in different directions. With such eyesight, no wonder they were all eliminated next year. Being able to make it to the 4th round of exams is almost their limit. Lon casually put away the gun and walked towards the red mushroom cluster. In the end, Shishito's and Kinmi's tags both fell into Hanzo's hands in the 4th phase of the hunter exam next year. All the number tags on their body were snatched away by Hanzo. Among them, Kinmi suffered the most. After his number tag was taken by Amori and Amori, he was targeted by Tampa. After saying that his number tag was taken by Amori and Amori, Tampa sat on his face on the beach as if to vent his anger. They are all acquaintances of hunter exam, and they will meet again next year. Lon walked into the colony while looking at the mushrooms around him. It is undeniable that this pile of bright red mushrooms together has a great visual impact. It is this kind of mushroom that is basically a first-class hallucinogen in Land's world. With so many mushrooms, there must be one that is the target, right? Lon took out Icky's picking shovel and shoveled down all the fungi on the tree. Izanavi only said to take the Ralpha red mushroom back and be careful of the poisonous fungus growing around it. He didn't say we couldn't take the poisonous fungus with us. Therefore, as long as he shoveled away all these mushrooms and took them back, as long as there was one Ralpha red mushroom among them, he would still pass. Swish! Lon collected all the mushrooms with a wave of his hand. Oh my, they've all disappeared. Are you hiding them somewhere? Suddenly, a light laugh sounded behind Lon. Didn't you see clearly? Lon was not surprised by the movement behind him. You've been watching from behind for such a long time. Didn't you notice anything? He turned around and looked at the man whose figure slowly appeared from behind and said calmly, "Did you notice that?" Well, it's hard not to notice when there's a pervert staring at you from behind. Under the moonlight, Hisoka swayed his waist and walked out from the shadows. His pair of fiery eyes looked at Lon up and down as if he were looking at some rare and precious fruit. Sure enough, it was the right choice for me to come here to take the hunter exam. The Joker card in his hand was pinched between his fingertips, and the tip of his tongue gently licked across his lips. A strong aura gradually entangled Hisoka's body. It's great to have encountered such delicious apples. The nun ability was entangled with the cards in his hand, as if it could even tear apart the surrounding air. Chapter 54. It seems that I really have no secrets in front of you. You want to fight me, don't you? Lan's expression remained calm. He had anticipated such a scene and development before taking the hunter exam. With Hisoka's perverted nature of seeking out strong people and constantly challenging them for fun, it would be hard for him not to attract the other party's attention. What's more, during the last round, Lan felt Hisoka's gaze. This forest, where there are no worries and anything can happen, is simply the best natural place to do whatever you want. In the distance, the screams of the examinees could be heard faintly, as well as some faint shouting and cursing. This also provides the best opportunity to resolve the feud between the shot-put players and the track and field players in the previous round. Do you know who I am and understand me? Lan looked at Hisoka, who was approaching step by step, and spoke in a low voice. Does this matter? Hisoka asked back. The more unknown it is, the more extraordinary pleasure it can bring him, making him feel more excited. Isn't it important? Lan just looked at Hisoka and suddenly laughed. Hisoka, a fighter above the 200th floor of the Heavens Arena. His specialty is playing cards, and he calls himself an omnipotent magician. Lan muttered to himself. These are the news that Hisoka has publicly revealed to the outside world, and they cannot stop him at all. But then, born in Meteor City, currently a member of the Phantom Troop, number 4. Hisoka paused. He's erratic, deceptive, likes bloody fights, and is a pervert, but he's definitely not the type to kill innocent people for no reason. When fighting, he has calmness and good judgment and will not let his opponent see his weaknesses under any circumstances. But when he loses his composure and his excitement reaches its peak, he will exude a bloodlust. The goal of his life is to find prey, and the interest is to cultivate strong enemies and then defeat them. In other words, he would look for someone who was worthy of fighting, likening him to a green apple, and patiently wait for that person to grow to the point where he was worth killing. Have strong self-confidence and always believe that he is the strongest. He keeps pursuing duels. He either falls or his opponent falls, which is what he expects. Both of them can let him enjoy the pleasure he has been pursuing. The pleasure of destroying the apple he has been cultivating with his own hands. After Lan finished speaking, Hisoka stood still without any action to move forward. Oh my, it seems that I am understood so thoroughly. The excited smile on Hisoka's face had completely disappeared at this moment. It's really surprising. Then he narrowed his eyes. I didn't know there was someone in this world who understood me so well. I really don't know whether I should be happy or... Hisoka said slowly. Should I be angry? Whoosh! Before he finished saying the word angry, the Joker card in his hand had already shot out at a rapid speed directly at Lan's face. Your sense is still so strong, Lan said casually while holding up 2 fingers. He caught the card that was flying towards him in his hand. And at the same time, an astonishing amount of none suddenly emerged from his whole body. Like the strongest fortress, it enveloped him entirely and formed an all-round defensive front. This level of none, Hisoka's eyes narrowed slightly, but more than that, they were filled with the burning flames of fighting spirit and desire. It's really a fruit that makes people want to stamp. His fingers tapped lightly, as if trying to pull something back. If you want to use elastic love to pull the card back, Lan said calmly, this strength is still not enough. Do you even know what my inability is? The corners of Hisoka's mouth slowly curved up. It really makes me more and more excited. Really? But I don't sense any bloodlust emanating from you right now. With his eyes wrapped in none, Lan had already used Gyo, focus, the moment Hisoka appeared. Is it covered up by the flimsy lies? It seems this ability can also conceal bloodlust. Hearing this, Hisoka simply put down his finger. It seems that I really don't have any secrets in front of you. For the first time, he looked Lan up and down seriously. Your name is Lan, right? I remember that. I don't know how you know so much about me, but it's a bit unfair, isn't it? You know me so well, but I don't know you at all. Stop using this meaningless rhetoric. Lan interrupted him directly. You can understand me or fight me. How you do it is your business. I have no interest in playing these charades with you right now, and I don't have the time to do it. After saying that, he turned and walked away towards the outside of the forest. He didn't pay any attention to Hisoka, who was looking at him dangerously from behind. Looking at lands, departing back, Hisoka just narrowed his eyes and moved his fingers back and forth to produce playing cards. It seems like he is looking for the right angle and time to play his cards. But in the end, he gave up. Chapter 55. It's great to be young. I'm sure I haven't seen him before, and I don't know him. The bloodlust around him dissipated. Hisoka supported his right arm with his left hand and his chin with his right hand and fell into thought. Also, the aura he exudes is very unfamiliar. I have never encountered it before. But even so, the other party knows him so thoroughly. He was almost stripped naked while standing in front of the other party. Interesting, really interesting. Hisoka muttered and took out a phone from his pocket. Beep dot beep dot beep. Moshi moshi? An emotionless voice came from the other end of the line. Help me find someone's information. Hisoka emphasized, just checking the information. No need for assassination, right? The person on the other end of the phone expressed understanding and said, then I'll give you a 9.7% discount on the price this time. Thank you. Click. After the call was disconnected, the dense forest returned to silence once again. Only that perverted voice slowly rose above the dense forest. What kind of person are you, Lon? I'm becoming more and more curious about you. First, there was a suppressed whisper, and then immediately, a surge of bloodlust erupted in the dense forest. Hisoka was really excited. The candidates who were searching for Ralpha's red mushrooms in the dense forest suddenly felt a chill coming over them. In this dense forest, the devil descended. When Lon walked out of the dense forest, the first thing he saw was the airship with the Hunter Association logo parked nearby. This airship will take you to the site of the third round of Hunter exam. Seeing the candidates coming out, Izanavi, who was sitting on the stone, also opened his eyes. On the way over, you could take a good rest on the airship. He looked at Lon carefully, then slowly got up from the stone. Let me see the red mushrooms you brought out. Don't you think I gave up halfway and came out of it? Lon asked back. Izanavi's face was serious, and he said in a deep voice, the aura of a person cannot be faked. Is that so? Lon nodded, and then casually released a bunch of red mushrooms. Please make sure there is a target in there. From the conjuration department, seeing Lan's method of releasing objects with a wave of his hand, Izanavi's eyes became serious, and then he checked the pile of mushrooms. This one, and this one over here. There are 3 in total. After a brief check, Izanavi confirmed to Lon, you passed. Is that all? Don't you need to take it? No. The Ralpha red mushroom has a high nutritional value. After a little frying, it becomes a rare delicacy. This can also be regarded as a benefit for the candidates. Is that so? Lon looked at the 3 red mushrooms and asked, can I sell them to candidates who can't find red mushrooms? Izanavi, well, it seems that it doesn't work. Lon casually put away the 2 bunches of red mushrooms again, and then walked onto the airship under Izanavi's serious gaze. Well, Raphael red mushrooms are delicious, and the poisonous fungus can be quite useful at times. Hunter exam cannot continue uninterrupted. After all, candidates are human beings, not machines. There is still time and place to rest and adjust his condition in the middle. The airship is basically the standard equipment provided by the Hunter Association for candidates to rest. It was the first time Lon boarded the Hunter Association's airship. But as soon as he walked in, he ran into an old acquaintance. Hello, Mr. Lon. We meet again. Mr. Beans, who was also wearing a black suit, greeted Lon politely. The president specifically asked me to invite you. Mr. Beans made a pleased gesture. He has been waiting for you in the office for a long time. When Lon saw Netero again, he had already changed into clean and neat sportswear. It was his very classic outfit, a blue and white t-shirt and shorts with some character printed on it. And every time he puts on this outfit, it means he is ready for a thrilling battle. Long time no see. Inside the room, Netero was doing push-ups with one finger without even raising his head. He just lightly tapped the ground with his thumb, and then he somersaulted in the air a few times before landing very lightly in front of Lon. You are still so young. Netero put one hand on his waist and said with emotion, "It's great to be young. President, you are also very energetic." Lon also looked at him and smiled. "Judging from your vigorous performance just now, you're not inferior to the young people at all. I'm old after all." Netero waved his hand. "But you—" He stroked his pointed beard with his hand and looked at Lon with growing interest. "It's no exaggeration to say that it's earth-shaking. Your changes in condition are surprisingly good. Could it be that—" Netero paused, then suddenly pointed at the Mr. Beans. "You gained this power by eating his relatives, right?" Mr. Beans, waiting nearby. "No, it's been so long. Do you still remember it?" Chapter 56, Another High-End Blind Box. "My strength still comes from my abilities." Lon generously admitted his changes. "Speaking of which, I still have to thank you, Chairman," he said with a smile. This time, he was also able to ignore the flashing red light next to Netero, not letting him find any entry point into him again. "Is that so?" Netero twirled his beard. "Then it seems your progress is quite encouraging." "It's all thanks to the chairman," Lon responded as he put the treasure chest away. "Well, he is the most powerful nun user in the world, after all." T/N, changing chairman to chairman. When he appeared again, a rare level blind box was refreshed. Although it may be during this hunter exam that such a level was achieved. But he has to say that Netero's explosion rate is really high. For 2 consecutive times, the lowest quality blind boxes were of high level. Maybe some good items will come out. Even Lan's gaze towards Netero became more eager. "Wow, if you're thanking me so much." Feeling Lan's eager gaze, Netero, who had misunderstood, laughed and said, "Then come play a game with me, old man." The yellow dodgeball rolled to Netero's feet. "I reject." Lan's eyes suddenly became clear. "Oh, don't be so nervous," Netero induced. "It's just a simple game of dodgeball." "I reject. This game is very good. Many professional hunters in the Hunter Association like to play it. Don't you think so, Beans?" Yes. Mr. Beans was stunned at first, and then his words became smaller and smaller. He still felt a little uncomfortable telling a lie against his will. "Look, even Beans said that this game." "I reject." "Tisk, young man, don't be so impulsive and make decisions so quickly. I am a chairman of the Hunter Association. If you can beat me, I can give you a hunter's license in advance. Then I will refuse even more." You don't want a license? If you don't play games with me, I will directly judge you as the loser in this hunter exam." "Thank you, but I still refuse." "Then you will not be allowed to take the hunter exam again." "Please feel free to do so. I'm really not interested in your game, Chairman." Netero, this was the first time he encountered such a difficult candidate. No matter how hard he tried, whether it was promises or threats, bribery or deception, Lon would not budge. It seemed like he didn't want to play games with him at all. Or rather, he knew what he wanted to do. "Wow, I've lived for most of my life, and I've never seen a candidate who doesn't give me a face like this." After Lon said goodbye and went out to rest, Netero didn't mind and even smiled happily. "I haven't met such an interesting person in a long time." "Well, it's not like there were people who didn't give you a face before, but you physically eliminated all of them. So the people who came after you were very polite." Mr. Beans muttered in his heart, but he certainly didn't dare to say it out loud. Is Mr. Lon more troublesome than Mr. Jing Freaks? They're two of the same kind in some ways. Netero thought for a moment. But as for this guy, Jing, I can roughly understand his none and demands. But Lon, we've known each other for a short time. What he knew about Lon was still information that existed only on paper. He still has no idea what he is like. But Netero didn't care. Even a difficult character like Jing was smoothed out by him and became one of the Zodiac 12 of the Hunter Association. A more interesting young man. Once he gets to know him well, then it will only be a matter of time before he can play games with him in the future. Thinking of this, Netero didn't care anymore. He kicked the dodgeball aside, then walked to the table and wanted to pick up a glass of water to drink. Suddenly, he stopped there. "Oh, I forgot." He seemed to suddenly remember something. "What's wrong, Chairman?" Mr. Beans, the secretary, quickly asked, "Is there any work that has been missed?" "Well, I forgot to ask him for beans." Mr. Beans turned into bean eyes. It's the kind that was in the Heavens arena before, the kind of beans that belong to your relatives." Netero patted his head vigorously. When people get old, they tend to forget things. There's nothing I can do. I'll have to ask him for beans next time. Mr. Beans. Chairman, my relatives. Isn't this sentence awkward to say? Also, can we please stop talking about this, Chairman? No one paid attention to Mr. Beans's wounded world. After walking out of Chairman Netero's office, Lon found a restroom and opened the red high-level blind box. Get a high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Open successfully. Get Dino Caps set. Source World. Dragon Ball. Sure enough, once he meets Chairman Netero, it is easy to get items from the world of Dragon Ball. Dino Caps. Lon flipped his palm, and a large white square box appeared in his hand. Because we're on a transportation vehicle like an airship, are the things that are prescribed daily necessities like Dino Caps? This is a high-tech product developed by Brief Family Business in the world of Dragon Ball. The tiny capsules can hold everything from motorcycles to cars and airplanes to fully furnished houses. Chapter 57. Is there a devil among the candidates? However, the Dino Caps does have disadvantages. For example, a capsule can only change into one fixed thing and cannot change into whatever you want. But even so, it is still a pretty magical item. But in this case, it can only be considered as an uncommon level at best, not even a high level. Lon looked at it carefully and found 17 capsules, numbered 1 to 17. This is the set that Bulma carries when she goes out to look for the Dragon Balls. All kinds of daily necessities are available. As the only daughter of Brief's family, the Dino Caps she carries must be the best configured. But this level is still not enough. Until Lon pulled out a small no. 18 capsule from the bottom of the white square box full of capsules. The research and development technology of the Dino Caps. The introduction next to it says that this number 18 capsule contains the research and development technology of the Dino Caps. Now it's right. Lon nodded in understanding. The finished product may not be enough, but if there is technology that can be developed in mass production, it will be different. Such technology is enough to change the world's patterns and living conditions. Things related to space especially have a huge impact on people's lifestyles. However, considering that the hunter world's technological level is only in 1998, its research and development capabilities are still insufficient. But if we meet some specific guys, maybe it can be realized. Lon thought of the Greed island developed by Jing Freaks and his group of friends. To be able to build such an island, there must be a scientific genius among the team members. If there is a chance, he would like to get to know them. After putting away the Dino Caps set, Lon took a temporary rest on the airship. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be a third and fourth round of exams. At worst, I can just end this journey at the fourth round of exams. At night, Lon was resting peacefully on the airship, but the Ralpha forest had turned into a playground for beasts. The terrifying roar of the beast, as well as the wailing of the examinees, echoed continuously in the forest. Originally, Izanavi thought that the quality of candidates this year was very poor. But when each candidate looked pale, extremely frightened, and mentally damaged, he knew that something might have happened in this forest that was beyond his control. Realizing that something was wrong, he immediately asked the candidates who had escaped about what had happened inside. Devil, there's a devil inside. Some candidates were obviously frightened and stuttered, unable to speak clearly. Devil? What devil are you talking about? Izanavi stopped talking before he finished his question. When he saw Hisoka walking out of the forest, full of bloodlust and blood, he understood everything. A devil among the examinees? Izanavi, with his hair standing on end, looked at Hisoka, who was holding a red mushroom in one hand and a human head in the other, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The sky gradually brightened, and at the end of the sky, a ray of morning glow fell on the ground. The Hunter Association's airship also carried the hunters who found the red mushroom and passed the exam to the venue of the third round of hunter exams. At least 20 candidates died at the hands of candidate number 33, named Hisoka, right? Inside the office, Chairman Netero glanced at the exam statistical data report and picked up the teacup. Yes. Mr. Beans's face turned bitter. This is considered a vicious incident in previous hunter exams. The Zodiac 12 and the members of this hunter exam organizing committee are all discussing whether to disqualify this candidate. Did he do anything that violated the association's rules? Netero took a sip of tea and said, "According to the association's rules, killing someone in such an environment shouldn't be considered a violation, right?" That's what it said, but Mr. Beans seemed to be hesitant to speak. The impact is a bit too bad. Those candidates should be prepared to face various dangers before taking the hunter exam. Netero said calmly, "This is just a murderer in a small forest. If they can't even deal with this, then, when they become a hunter in the future and go to more dangerous places, won't they be throwing their life away in vain? A bad environment won't choose to take their feelings into consideration." After Netero's words, Hisoka's judgment was finalized. He does not bear any responsibility for this. When the results came out, the other 62 candidates who had passed the second round of exams and were resting on the boat all fell silent. Although this result is in line with the rules, it is still difficult for them to accept it logically. This is the hunter exam. Someone let out a long sigh and said softly, "Brutal, dangerous, deadly, yet utterly fascinating." The remaining candidates also firmly engraved the name Hisoka in their hearts. As for Hisoka, he's in a pretty good mood at this moment. When he came out of the Ralpha forest, his bloodlust had almost disappeared. In other words, he walked out only after he had deliberately exhausted his bloodlust. After making 20 examinees unable to make a comeback, he randomly picked a few red mushrooms from the victim's hand. After he came out, he handed it to Izanavi and successfully became a member of the third round of exams. Chapter 58, Hide and Seek, one of the world's natural heritage sites. After learning that he was not responsible for the handling result, the poker cards in his hand kept switching, and a creepy smile appeared on Hisoka's face. "It seems like I made the right decision to come here." His purpose for participating in the hunter exam was not only for fun and to find plum fruits. The main thing was to be able to kill people legally and reasonably, whether it is during this exam process or the privileges enjoyed after obtaining a hunter's license. This result actually made Hisoka enjoy the exam even more. The other candidates on the airship did not raise too many objections. Instead, they huddled in their rooms, preparing for the third round of exams. Time passes leisurely in silence. Soon it was noon. The airship stopped at a tall door. When the candidates walked down from the airship, what caught their eyes was a huge bulletin board next to them. Loras Park. Someone recognized this place after reading the introduction. It is one of the world's natural heritage sites and a very famous relic in the whole world. That's right. The petite voice coming from the side attracted everyone's attention. A figure with a head like a big gourd but a slender and short body appeared in front of everyone. "And this is the location for your third round of exams." She has a great amount of hair tied back in a ponytail, an obscenely big head, a funnel nose, and big protruding ears. The examiner, whose body proportions were totally out of balance, introduced himself. "I am Cutie Beauty, a cute hunter, and the examiner for this round of your exam." "Okay, another acquaintance." Lon recognized it again. In other words, with this appearance and being so recognizable, it is hard not to recognize her. Cutie Beauty, the beautiful hunter, appeared in the chairman election episode. At the same time, she is also the staunch captain of Vice Chairman Periston's Guard. She believes that the cute and beautiful hunter association that she advocates will be realized in the hands of the beloved Vice Chairman Periston. After losing in the first 2 rounds, she called on other hunters to vote for Periston. Well, she is a die-hard supporter of the Periston faction. This round of exams is very simple. It's just hide and seek. Cutie Beauty shook the big waves behind her head. You now have a total of 64 lovely candidates, just enough to be divided into 2 groups, 32 people in each group. She held up 2 fingers. One group will be the ghost, and the other group will be the ghost hunter. The ghost should go in first, and then the ghost hunter should go in half an hour later. As long as you stick the red round card you're given to the ghost hunter will catch them. The ghost hunter who catches the ghosts, as well as the ghosts that are not caught, will be able to pass this third round of exams. The red cards issued to you all have machines on them. Once they are attached, they will immediately record the information of the ghost being caught and the ghost hunter attaching the card. That is to say, the moment you are given a card, you are eliminated. If anyone is dissatisfied or has inappropriate thoughts, Cutie Beauty's beautiful gourd face showed a smile. Then you will know how terrible the Hunter Association that protects the interests of qualified candidates will be. As she said this, a rolling cart slowly drove over. In here, there are 32 red cards and 32 blank cards. Those who get a blank card become the ghost, and those who draw a red card will be the ghost hunter. Once a red card is attached, a prompt will appear on the blank card to prevent the captured ghost from not noticing his situation. Cutie Beauty clapped her hands. Okay, everyone, come up and draw cards. The rules are quite simple. Catch and be caught. In other words, it is hiding and being hunted. On the surface, it's about sticking cards, but in reality, it's about capturing the prey you've set your eyes on. It is similar to catching red mushrooms in the Ralph forest last night. But the difference is that it has changed from an object in the wild to a living person. They can run away, hide, and even resist an attack. Compared to the previous exam in the wild, the difficulty has increased by more than a little. So, the rule is just to put up the red card instead of bringing the ghost back here. Lon turned the red card he had just drawn. In fact, according to the nature of this round of exams, the only way to stick a card on the ghost, apart from a sneak attack, is to defeat them head-on and then stick the card on them. His eyes casually swept over the 32 people who had drawn white cards. In the midst of it, Hisoka gently waved the white card in his hand and smiled at Lon. He also stuck out his tongue and lightly moved it around the corner of his mouth. It seemed like an invitation to him to come and catch him as much as he wanted. Lon. He pretended not to see anything and shifted his gaze elsewhere. Okay, dear students, Cutie Beauty clapped her hands. Inside is the stage for you to perform to your heart's content. The deadline is 12 o'clock tonight. You only have one afternoon and half a night to play hide and seek. When the time comes, there will be an airship from the Hunter Association waiting for you here. Take the qualified candidates to the venue for the fourth round of exam. The third round of exam, hide and seek, timer, start. Chapter 59. The Monster in the Examiner's Mind. Cutie Beauty swung her short arms vigorously, and the group of candidates who drew the white card ghost did not dare to delay. They all ran towards the inside of Loras Park. Only Hisoka walked in slowly and leisurely, like a leisurely stroll. Is he the dangerous person who killed 20 candidates? Cutie Beauty remained calm on the surface and looked at Hisoka's back with vigilance in her heart. The bloodlust emanating from the other party made even her very afraid. Although he is a little worse than Vice Chairman Pariston, he is obviously such a handsome man. But he turned out to be a murderer. Cutie Beauty pouted secretly. This is not the type she likes. On the contrary, looking at the group of ghost hunters, her eyes lit up. This suit is also a perfect match for him. Repressing the urge in her heart, Cutie Beauty secretly looked at Lon over there twice. He looks just like Vice Chairman Pariston in a beige blazer and a black suit, giving me the same feeling. As a beauty hunter, Cutie Beauty naturally pursues anything related to beauty, or should I say, anything that is beautiful in her eyes. In her eyes, Lon is a representative of beauty. This also made Cutie Beauty's mind gradually emerge with small ideas. And Lon naturally felt her secretive eyes. But he didn't want to pay attention to these crazy fans and pretended not to see her. With other candidates, he silently waited for 30 minutes to pass. When the time was up, whoosh, one by one, the candidates who were the ghost hunters ran towards Loras Park in front. But soon, all of their bodies froze in place. Loras Park, one of the world's most famous natural heritage landscapes, is a sea of flowers after entering. There are many flowers and butterflies here, which are very attractive to tourists. Naturally, it also attracted Hisoka, who likes butterflies. He was sitting on a small hill in the middle of the garden, raising his right hand, letting the butterflies hover around or land on it. The picture is very beautiful, very peaceful, and serene, but this kind of picture happened to Hisoka, who was the image of a murderer in the minds of the candidates. and the sense of contrast was too heavy. Seeing this scene, the candidates who came in to catch ghosts were silent. Then they ran to both sides together, wisely avoiding this place. And for the ghost in the center of the garden, they all pretended not to see it tacitly. Don't look at Hisoka's peaceful appearance now, but if they really start a fight, people will know what the hell is. Only those who think their lives are too long will go looking for trouble with Hisoka. It seems that there are no other candidates here. Lon, who followed in from behind, just casually glanced at the situation in the garden and then walked in other directions without stopping. Well, no one who thinks their lives are too long will attack Hisoka, the ghost. Those candidates who become ghosts will not think that they live too long, so they hide next to Hisoka. Everyone wants to stay away from him. As for Hisoka, he sat alone in the middle of the garden, admiring the butterfly in his hand and indulging in his own world. Some candidates who become ghosts did not grasp the essence of being a ghost. On the one hand, they should not be discovered, and on the other hand, they should be able to evacuate in time after being discovered without being labeled with a red round card. Most people just think about how to find a very hidden place to cover themselves. But even they thought of this situation, and of course those candidates who hunted ghosts would think of it. So, in those seemingly very safe hiding places, fierce battles broke out. As long as there is an act of hiding, there will inevitably be traces of action. In the park, Lon sat casually on the big tree stump. Instead of finding a hidden place to hide, it is better to occupy a place that can be perfectly defended and evacuated in time. You can retreat and defend. If you can't win, just run. As long as you don't get caught, everything will be fine. Their behavior of just burying themselves is just a tortoise that has trapped itself, in my opinion. After his voice fell, the surrounding environment was still quiet and silent. It seems that you won't cry until you see the coffin. Lon was too lazy to talk nonsense and took the gun, collector, from his waist. Bang! He raised his hand and fired a shot, and the bullet hit a bird's nest on the tree next to him. Puff! Blood splashed everywhere, and a figure fell out of it in a mess. His face was pale, and one hand covered his left thigh that was pierced by the bullet. Did you take the initiative to stick the card on yourself? Or do you want me to do it? Click. Lon casually threw the red card in front of the man. Ryu, who had short green hair and wore dark martial arts clothes, covered his thigh with reluctance written all over his face. This was also a minor character. He was the 34th candidate next year. During the 4th round of hunting on Zevel Island, he was Bedoro's target and was knocked down by him, and his number tag was taken down, allowing Bedoro to participate in the final exam. This year it was the same, and he stopped his journey in this hunting round. Although he was unwilling in his heart, Ryu, who had been injured in the thigh and could not move, knew that his journey in this exam would end there. Rather than letting the other party take action and torture himself, it would be better to admit defeat. He stretched out his hand tremblingly, picked up the red card from the ground, and silently stuck it on his body. Candidate number 165 was caught and eliminated. The moment Ryu put on the red card, the white card in his arms sounded a prompt. Thank you for your cooperation. Without stopping for a moment, Lon put away his gun, turned around, and walked out of the forest without any hesitation. Ryu was left alone, sitting on the ground, with a look of dejection. Or rather, he was not the only one. Leave. Leave. Under the big tree stump where Lon had sat before, Tampa was hiding inside, trembling with fear. Tampa had every reason to suspect that what Lon had just said was actually directed at him. The reason why he was not dragged out, Tampa thought, might be that Lon felt that shooting a bird's nest was easier and more convenient than digging a big tree stump. If there was not another candidate here who served as a scapegoat, otherwise Tampa felt that his hunter exam journey would end there. Fortunately, he silently shrank and sighed softly. On the ground, Ryu was unable to move because his thigh was pierced, so he could only lean here and wait for the Hunter Association's arrangements and aftermath after the time was over. After the gunshot, ghost hunter candidates came here from time to time to check the situation. As a result, after seeing the injured person leaning there and the red card on his body, they all left immediately in silence. As for the huge tree stump, naturally no one cared. At the same time, Various scenes of ghost hunting and hiding were constantly being played out in various places in Loras Park. The ghost hunter candidates also used various methods to deal with this. By the pond, although your archery skills are not bad, it's a pity Geretto walked to the candidate, who was stiff and unable to move. Your hiding skills are not yet up to par. He casually threw away the paralysis poison needle on the opponent's neck and then stuck the red card his hand on it. Candidate number 239 was caught and eliminated. Chapter 60, Murderer. In a crisscross canyon. You bastards. The candidate tied to the rock gnashed his teeth. You are breaking the rules. I will appeal to the Hunter Association. He opened his eyes wide and glared at the trio in front of him. If you lose, you lose. Don't look like a loser and howl like a loser. The eldest of the three brothers, Amori, slapped the red card in the candidate's face. The rules don't say that ghost hunters and ghosts can't work together. The middle child, Amori, crossed his arms and looked proud. That's right. The younger brother, Amori, nodded repeatedly. We are just making reasonable use of the rules. Among the three brothers, the eldest brother, Amori, and the youngest, Amori, drew red cards to catch ghosts. The middle child, Amori, drew a white card to be a ghost. He first mixed with the group of ghosts and entered the park half an hour earlier. Then, he followed some candidates silently to find out their approximate location. After the ghost hunter candidates come in, he meets up with his other two brothers. He acts as a guide to help his two brothers find other ghosts, and then he will be protected by his two brothers to prevent himself from being caught. Judging from the current results, the three brothers' approach is not bad. This is already catching a ghost. The eldest brother, Amori, who has passed the test, is very satisfied. Okay, let's go find the second ghost next. The rules don't say that you need to leave the park immediately after catching a ghost. He won't leave just like that. He also has to help his youngest brother catch another ghost and, at the same time, help his other brother not be caught by others. Anyway, the time limit is 12 o'clock tonight. There is still time. After a short rest, the three brothers, led by Amori, went to the next ghost hiding place. On the other side of the small hill, there is a dark cliff cave that can be passed by one person. No matter how you look at this cliff cave, it looks like a place suitable for ghosts to hide. No, it's not like it's true that there are candidates hiding in here. But every ghost hunter candidate who passed by here just looked over here and then left immediately. There is no other reason. There are many poisonous snakes everywhere at the entrance of this cave. It stared at everyone with their scarlet vertical pupils while hissing and spitting out their tongues. Then, they coldly pursued every guy who wanted to peek into the cave. The snake charmer bourbon. Everyone knows which candidate is hiding in here. But facing the hole that can only be passed by one person, no one knows what kind of poisonous snakes will be waiting for them inside. This is obviously an extremely dangerous terrain environment, and they will not choose to gamble their lives on it. There are also 31 others. Excluding Hisoka, there are still 30 ghost candidates, enough for them to capture. With this idea in mind, in this park, one ghost hunter candidate after another is searching. And those candidates who acted like ghosts were also hiding. Time passed by minute, in the blink of an eye. The starry night enveloped the sky, and the bright moon hung high in the sky. Dusk fell, and everything was silent. In the garden at the entrance, the dancing butterflies were also sleeping under the flowers. It's time to leave. Hisoka, who had been sitting here for a while, got up and walked slowly towards the entrance. He spent this whole round of tests very quietly, and no one came to disturb him. This also made him a little bored. It would be nice if we could have some fun. Lan's figure appeared in his mind again, and then quickly disappeared. Before he got some information about Lan, he would not act rashly. As for the other people in this hunter exam, there were no other non-users. This also made Hisoka a little disappointed. He originally thought that there were some powerful characters among the guys who came to participate in the hunter exam. Well, it's not that there are none. Both he and Lan are considered one. So, can he only focus on the examiner? The second round examiner was not bad, but he vented his bloodlust in the Ralpha Forest. After coming out, he no longer had the interest to take action. As for the examiner of this third round, Hisoka looked at the faintly swaying figure of the petite examiner at the entrance and couldn't help but sigh. 25 points. No desire to take action at all. Not all examiners are strong. At this time, there were many hidden figures in the park. After seeing Hisoka get up and leave, they all breathed a sigh of relief. They were afraid that Hisoka would block the door at the last moment and kill them all. In view of what happened the night before, they felt that Hisoka was likely to do such a thing. But fortunately, Hisoka is still normal now, and nothing happened. A group of people followed behind and walked out of Loras Park one after another. It's finally over, including Tanpa, who was relieved, the three brothers of Amori, who were in good condition, the snake charmer Bourbon, who was not disturbed, Sami, who used monkeys to warn, and Ponzu, who used bees to stick cards on the candidates. A total of 28 people, right? After counting the number of people, Cutie Beauty turned around in a circle with satisfaction. This number is enough to support the fourth round of exams, and my work is done. After saying that, she ignored the remaining qualified candidates. Under the astonished eyes of the crowd, she took the lead and ran into the airship that had just landed. It seemed that she didn't want to stay here for a second longer. It was very much like a worker who got off work on time and completed her work. Fortunately, she said before the test that the next step for qualified candidates was to board the airship, and then it would take them to the next location. Everyone was silent for a while, and then followed to board the airship. This year's Hunter exam time was very fast, or it could be said that it was very neat and tidy. 3 rounds of tests were completed in 2 days, and more than 300 people were eliminated in one go. From nearly 400 people at the beginning, the current 28 people were screened. The elimination ratio of more than 10 to 1 in 3 rounds of the exam was really amazing. However, this is the danger of the Hunter exam. Until the last moment, no one can say whether they can get out of it unscathed or whether they can save their lives. This statement is not only for the candidates, but also for the examiners. No one knows what kind of monsters will appear in the Hunter exam every year. However, with more than 200 tests, many examiners seem to have gradually forgotten this reminder. In the Hunter Association's airship, in a room dedicated to an examiner, is this the list and information of candidates who entered the 4th round of exam this year? A tall man dressed in wild animal fur and woolen pants, like a hunter in the wild, sat at the table and flipped through the information on the table casually. 3 brothers? Snake charmer? Monkey charmer? Looking at the names and information one after another, a trace of disdain flashed in the man's eyes, until a special list of candidates came into his sight. Murderer. Chapter 61. Being targeted. When Hisoka's information appeared in front of him, a murderous look suddenly flashed in the man's eyes. This is the murderer who killed more than 20 candidates in the 2nd round of the exam, right? He leaned forward and pressed his palm on the table, making the whole table squeak. Such a murderer should stay in prison instead of getting hunter's license and becoming an unrestrained hunter. His face had become gloomy, and he remembered the name Hisoka firmly in his mind. Still thinking about passing the Hunter exam? He sneered and put Hisoka's information heavily on the other side. And the next candidate who appeared. Lon? Is he part of the mafia? Looking at the brief information on it, the man showed more disgust on his face. No different from that murderer. Even more disgusting scum. Bang. He put Lan's information in the same place as Hisoka. Then he stared at the photos of the 2 people and had already made up his mind. The evening passed slowly, and when the examinees had finished resting and adjusted their physical and mental states, the airship had just landed on an open field. There was no vegetation or creatures here. There was only an endless wilderness and a high platform on top. After sending more than 20 examinees down, the airship slowly left here again. This is the location of the 4th round of exam. On the arena, the man who had arrived here earlier stood there with his arms folded across his chest while looking at the examinees who came here. I am the examiner of this round of exam, Togari, a blacklist hunter. He emphasized his hunter category in his tone. Blacklist hunter. Hearing this name, Tadu, a fighter who aspires to become this kind of hunter, was cheered up. Faced with many vicious criminals, Only by constantly strengthening your combat capabilities can you bring criminals to justice, Togari said in a deep voice. So this exam is to test your actual combat capabilities. After passing, you can enter the final exam. The final exam? The expressions of more than 20 candidates became serious again. What they are waiting for is this final exam. Every candidate who came here is rushing to pass the final exam and get the ultimate goal, hunter's license. And now, there's only one step, no, two steps away from this goal. Everyone focused and waited for the examiner to announce the content and rules of the fourth round of the exam. Togari, right? Lon looked at the examiner in the crowd and nodded. He did not forget that in this hunter exam, Hisoka would beat up the hunter examiner he disliked. This man had not appeared in the first 3 rounds of the exam. So, did he appear in the 4th round of the exam? Lon thought about it and planned to retreat behind everyone to watch the next exciting event. However, what he did not expect was that he wanted to be a watcher, but he would become part of it. There are many loose criminals outside now. As hunters, we have the responsibility to stop the atrocities of those bastards and send them to where they should go. Under the gaze of the waiting candidates, Togari did not start explaining the rules and content as everyone expected. Instead, he directly started the crazy spray mode. Those executioners and murderers with innocent blood on their hands will pay the damn price sooner or later. The expressions of the other candidates suddenly changed in various ways. Each examiner has his own temperament. Blacklist Hunter's hot temper is nothing to worry about. Under normal circumstances, it is understandable to make such subjective judgments. They just pretended not to hear it or they didn't take it to heart. But now, in this situation, isn't this a little too targeted? Some examinees subconsciously looked in Hisoka's direction. They found that the latter was still calm. As if he hadn't heard anything at all, he was flipping the cards in his hand nonchalantly. Here it comes. Hearing this, Lon didn't care about the subtle atmosphere in the venue at all, and his expression suddenly became excited. If it hadn't been for the wrong occasion, he would have taken out melon seeds, peanuts, and mineral water while readying to watch the show. However, before, his fun mentality lasted for 5 seconds. And the Mafia members, none of them are good things. They won't have any good endings. Examiner Togari continued to output there. A bunch of garbage that is worse than animals. They deserve to be used as tools for the rest of their lives. Lon, dressed in Mafia clothes, the smile on his face disappeared immediately. This guy, is he mentally ill? After a lot of blah blah, Togari, who knew it was time to get to the point, stopped talking and began to introduce the content of this exam. The rules are very simple. This is a huge arena. The combat ability tested in this round is through the arena competition. All of you must go up to the arena and fight. Those who fall off the arena will lose. No killing is allowed in the arena. No weapons or external forces other than your own are allowed, and no attacking the opponent's vital parts are allowed. There is no time limit. There are currently 28 participants in the competition. When there are only 7 people left in the arena, the exam is over. 7 out of 28 is already a very strict selection for them. The examinees looked solemn, and the atmosphere suddenly became urgent at this moment. They looked at each other with vigilance. At this moment, all the people around them became opponents competing for the final exam. In fact, among us, only 5 slots should be available. Omori, the brain of the 3 Omori brothers, muttered in a low voice, speaking everyone's thoughts. Well, it is said that 7 people passed, but Hisoka and Lon were also included in the crowd. With the strength of the 2 of them, no matter what, they can definitely pass. In other words, the actual passing rate is 26 out of 5. From the original 1 1/4, it has dropped to less than 1 in 5. When the candidates thought of this result, they felt much heavier. And Togari, who saw this scene, slowly grinned. Of course, as I said before, as a hunter, you have to have the responsibilities that a hunter should have. So, based on my position as a blacklist hunter, I have to make additional rules. Anyone who has killed someone in this hunter exam is not allowed to fight back in this match. Hearing this, the examinees who were originally serious all raised their heads and looked at Togari in astonishment. You are obviously targeting him, right? If the words just now were particularly targeted, then when this rule was made, it is obvious that it is put on the table, which is no different from naming someone. Among the 28 people present, there is only one person who has killed people in this hunter exam, and he killed a lot of people. This is something that everyone, from the examinees to the Hunter Association, knows. There is no reason why the examiner of the fourth round of the exam, Togari, does not understand the situation. In other words, he is deliberately making things difficult and targeting Hisoka. However, the rule of not being able to fight back is extremely beneficial to the other candidates. Therefore, the remaining 20 or so candidates all kept silent and subconsciously moved to the side. With Hisoka's personality, if he was targeted so obviously, he might go crazy. It's better to stay away so as not to get into a fight and get blood on them. At the same time, they didn't forget to look at Hisoka from the corner of their eyes to see how he would react. Chapter 62. I won't take the hunter exam at this time. Hisoka had put away the poker cards in his hand. They don't know whether he obeyed the rule that examinees cannot bring weapons into the venue or he had other ideas. But in everyone's eyes, the corner of Hisoka's mouth was slowly drawn up. In his eyes, there was a little bit of interest. Okay, I won't say more. Swish. Togari jumped down from the arena and landed on the ground, splashing dust. Everyone, get on the arena immediately, he said in an unquestionable tone. Then stand in position. After I say start, this round of exams will officially start. As soon as Togari's voice fell, some candidates could not help but rush to the arena. They wanted to go up as soon as possible and move to a position that was beneficial to them. Lon looked at this scene, thinking that his journey was almost over. I told you not to carry weapons. Do some people have no ears? Togari said some people, but his eyes were fixed on the direction where Lon was. Lon glanced around and found that there was no one. In other words, he was also targeting him. Interesting, this examiner, named Togari, even targeted him. Lon remained calm on the surface and put away the gun on his waist and the power pole on his back. Hisoka, who was silent next to him, narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Is this all right? Lon clapped his hands and said to Togari calmly, who knows where you put these weapons? A mocking look gradually emerged on Togari's face. Maybe they are hidden under your black clothes. I'm responsible for the candidates who take the exam on stage. You, take off your clothes immediately, Togari said righteously. I want to check carefully to see if you have hidden other weapons. And the clown-dressed candidate, no. 33 next to you, you too. Then, he turned his words to Hisoka, who had not moved yet. Your clothes with the playing card pattern can easily hide sharp blades. You have to take them off, too, so I can check them out. The examinees who were about to go on stage suddenly stumbled. That was Hisoka. Is it really okay to say such things to him in such a tone? Did the examiner of the hunter exam say that? That's fine. As an examiner, it should be easy to punish a candidate, right? The examinees who had already stepped onto the stage and were still a little frightened also slowly calmed down. When they thought that this was an action from the examiner, their eyes became a little subtle. Although Hisoka had shown so much strength before, he shouldn't be able to make any waves in front of this examiner, right? And Tanpa, who had already sensed something was wrong, rushed to the stage early to a far position, for fear that he would be affected by the disaster. They're both devil and monster. Tanpa sniffed hard, and the filth on his face was replaced by fear. Is it really okay to provoke them like this? For some reason, Tanpa always felt that this conflict would definitely not be that simple. Even if the person who did this was the examiner of the hunter exam. Is there something hidden under my clothes? Interesting, the corners of Hisoka's mouth began to slowly rise. He would wear these clothes with playing card patterns almost every time he went out. The main reason is that the styles are simple and convenient for fighting. With such a dress, no one would think that there would be any weapons or other items hidden under the clothes. The meaning of this examiner's words is already very clear. He just wants to find fault. Examiner, I think you're targeting and humiliating us. Lan's expression gradually returned to calm. I can confirm that I am not carrying any weapons. That's what you said. It can't be verified. Togari did not give in and even felt that Lon was backing down a bit and began to push forward. I said, I want to check it myself. His eyes returned to Lon. And I want to make sure that there is no possibility of hiding a weapon on your body. What if I say no? Lan's voice was very calm. You have no say in this. Togari grinned and pressed on. I am the examiner of this round of exam, and I have the final say on the rules and requirements. If you want to take the hunter exam, you must follow my rules and do as I ask. Is that so? I understand. Lon just nodded. Then in that case, it's better not to take this hunter exam. What did you say? Togari obviously did not expect such a result. He frowned deeply. Say it again. Don't you have ears? Lon had a blank expression and repeat back what he had just said to him. I said, I won't take the hunter exam. Togari's expression suddenly darkened. Do you think the hunter exam is a place where you can come and go as you please? What do you think of such a sacred test? I don't know whether this is sacred or not. Lan's eyes also responded with mockery. I only know that even the brightest place will have darkness, and even the most so-called cruel test will have garbage and waste. What did you say? Togari's eyes suddenly became grim. Okay, very good. In the hunter exam, this is the first time I've seen a candidate dare to talk to the examiner like this. Candidate no. 251, you did not comply with the rules of the hunter exam, did not cooperate, and had a series of violations such as contempt for the examiner during the exam. Togari showed a grim smile on his face. Now I declare that you are officially deprived of the qualification to participate for this hunter exam. So, it was deprived. Not that I voluntarily withdrew, right? Lon understood the meaning of the other party's words. So even in this stage where I withdrew from the hunter exam, you must emphasize your actions and demonstrate your dominance and authority as an examiner. Your self-esteem is really strong and sensitive, using this method to highlight your power. What did you say? Togari's anger value suddenly rose, and Lan's words obviously irritated him a little. The atmosphere of the entire venue has begun to become unusual. It was at this time. Wait a moment. I'll disturb you two first. Chapter 63. Beat up the examiner. Hisoka walked towards this side slowly, with a little restlessness in his tone. My problem seems to have not been solved yet. He raised his hands to indicate that he had no weapons or things in his hands. I also want to declare that I am not carrying any weapons or items that violate the test, but I also don't want to be checked. The arc on Hisoka's face became bigger, gradually becoming perverted and dangerous. So, Mr. Examiner, in this case, what is the arrangement for me? Here he comes. He is fanning the flames and adding fuel to the fire. When the candidates on the stage saw this scene, they knew that Hisoka had started to go crazy again, and this time his target was the examiner. Even more, when a candidate had just argued with the examiner, he added fuel to the fire. And the consequence of such an approach is, Togari turned his head suddenly, and the ferocious look on his face became more terrifying. Then you are also deprived of the qualification for this hunter exam like candidate number 251. Is that so? Hisoka twisted his waist and walked over in a cat-like manner. But I don't accept this result. I think it's just like what candidate number 251 said. As an examiner, you are deliberately targeting us. This is your problem. Hisoka seemed to have found something interesting, and he became more excited as he spoke. So, I don't approve and accept your decision. Togari, what disapproval and acceptance? He was almost laughing out of anger. As the examiner of this round of the hunter exam, there are actually candidates who contradict him, and there are more than one. He feels that it is necessary to let these scum of the world, the disgusting bastards in society, know what cruelty is. You have to accept it even if you don't want to. Togari began to surge with anger. I am the examiner of this round, and I have the final say on everything. In that case, Hisoka paused, and suddenly a poker card flashed in his hand. Then I have to solve the problem in my own way. He said this in a gentle tone, smiling. It's just that the smile on his face is so weird and feminine. Many candidates on the stage have long been shocked and speechless. It has to be said that even if they think the examiner can handle such an incident, some think that this examiner is really brave. He actually dared to provoke Lon and Hisoka at the same time. So, if there's a dispute between you, then you can solve it by yourselves. Lon, on the side, crossed his arms and said, I personally have no objection to the result of withdrawing from this hunter exam. Whether it is this poor little guy with a sensitive and fragile self-esteem who took the initiative to deprive me of my qualifications, or whether I personally withdraw, the result is the same. He said that he had no objection, but every word after that was deliberately provoking Togari. Then, you guys chat about your things, I'll leave first. As he said that, Lon raised his foot and pretended to leave. Just at this time, swish! A scimitar flashing with cold light flew past him quickly. Did I let you go? The scimitar made a circle in the air and then flew back again, landing in Togari's hand. He stared at Lon again in a low voice with hidden bloodlust. I accept the result, so I should not be a candidate now. Lon raised his eyebrows. So you're no longer an examiner, and now you should have no reason to block my way. It's because you're no longer a candidate. The blade of the scimitar tilted, reflecting Togari's murderous face. So I can clean up you scum and underworld trash who are worse than dogs. Is that so? I understand. Lon nodded as if he had just understood it. You did it on purpose to make me lose my candidate status so that you can target me better? He clapped his hands and nodded in approval. After all, you're examiner of the hunter exam. That little head has nothing but water in it, and the thoughts are complicated. But Lan's calm eyes gradually became deeper. How can you be so confident that you can clean me up? Oh my, are you going to steal my toys? Lon, Hisoka, who was watching from the side, clenched the playing cards in his hand and called Lan's name directly without giving in. This time, I advise you to watch from the side. Lon shook his wrist slightly and said calmly, Otherwise, if we really fight, I will not distinguish between friend and foe, and I will beat you as well. Besides, don't you want to see my strength when I really fight? Hisoka paused with the poker cards in his hand and then slowly relaxed. Right, he thought for a while. This is indeed a good opportunity to observe your fighting style and strength. Hisoka pursed his lips. Then I will reluctantly withdraw this time. Anyway, it's just a nearly rotten apple, and it doesn't taste good. Hisoka looked at Lan's back and licked his lips with his tongue. It's even more fascinating. I will be watching you closely from behind. Lon, Hisoka suppressed the wild desire for fighting and killing that was growing in his heart. He steps back and leaves the battlefield to the two of them. Really, I was just here to watch the fun, but I didn't expect. Lon shook his head. The melon fell on me. Although I try not to disrupt the development of the plot as much as possible, Lon whispered in his heart, but I can't stand being pushed around like this. I now understand why Hisoka dislikes a guy like you and can't help but beat you up. Because you really deserve a beating. Looking at the opposite side, Togari took out a scimitar in his backhand. Lon suddenly laughed. You know what? When you announced that I would be stripped of my status as a candidate, Lan's face showed a smile that was completely different from before. My idea is almost the same as yours. As soon as his words fell, a vast amount of aura rose around him instantly. What are you talking about? Togari, who had not yet realized the seriousness of the situation, was still cursing there. But before he could finish this sentence, he felt a flash in front of his eyes. Bang! A strong slap hit him directly in the face. I don't know where you got the courage from. After slapping, Lon said calmly, Your own strength is not very good, but your words are more disgusting and hateful. This is what it is called. The more narrow-minded and weak people are, the easier it is to be self-inflated, right? Puff half of Togari's face swelled up immediately. He spit out a mouthful of black blood mixed with a few broken teeth. However, as a blacklist hunter, he still has some skills to chase the murderer and survive until now. After suffering a severe blow to his face, he immediately swung the scimitar in his hand. He slashed upwards diagonally, aiming directly at Lan's throat. Ding! However, Lon accurately flicks the blade away with his fingers. Too slow. The faint voice was like announcing Togari's death sentence. Crack! The place where the blade was hit instantly shattered, and the cracks covered the entire scimitar like a spiderweb. Finally, Chapter 64. Who is the examiner and who is the examinee? Bang! Like a fairy scattering flowers, the the tiny blade fragments flew and bounced onto Togari's body, leaving several bloody marks. It's obvious that you haven't practiced the all-direction four-blade style at all. Lon turned his hand and slapped him again. And your actions once again prove your stupidity and ignorance. Slap. Another strong slap hit Togari's face, and the other half of his face swelled up. Even though Togari had anticipated Lan's move and wrapped Nin around his face in advance to protect himself, he still took a heavy blow. And this time, Lan obviously used a lot of force. He flew backward under this slap, while flying blood and broken teeth spurted out of his mouth. Then plop, his whole body fell heavily to the ground. Dang, the intact scimitar also fell beside him. The candidates on the stage were all stunned when they saw this scene. I'm not seeing things. Omori, the youngest of the three Omori brothers, slapped his face and murmured, "The examinee beat the examiner." The middle child, Omori, also swallowed his saliva. Who is the examiner? And who is the examinee? Is that guy really just an examinee? The eldest of the three, Omori, also felt a little incredible. Also, is this person called Togari really an examiner? Not only the three brothers, but also the other examinees showed more or less disbelief. The scene in front of them was really too absurd and too shocking for everyone. Who would have thought that the examiner, who had always been high and mighty in their eyes, was beaten up by an examinee? I knew it. Tampa, in the corner of the arena, saw this scene and kept muttering there. He always felt that this examinee, named Lon, looked weak on the surface and was not as good as the examiner. If he was really pissed off, he would definitely be more terrifying than his Soka. Damn it, you bitch. Togari, who was lying on the ground, had blood flowing out of his face, and an unknown liquid was flowing out of his nose and mouth. He was still cursing something indistinctly. Until, it seems that except for the scimitar in your hand, your mouth is the hardest. Lon came up to him and stepped on his face with a ruthless foot. The sole of his shoe directly covered half of Togari's face, and he pressed his feet down so that he could no longer open his mouth. Even your scimitar may not be as hard as your mouth. Togario wanted to struggle and push the feet away, but Lon just crushed him hard. Instantly, the world was quiet. The examiner was stepped on by the examinee and could not move. He was even beaten so hard that he could not even speak. So, what should we do now? On the stage, Ponzu, who kept bees, rubbed her hat, not knowing what to do. Should we still conduct the hunter exam? Still want to take exam. Didn't you see that the examiner was knocked to the ground? How can we conduct the exam? All the examinees were silent, mainly because they had never encountered such a situation before and had never heard of it. Everyone looked around subconsciously. Well, there was no one else in the open field except for their group. This made them want to find a responsible person to deal with this situation, but there was no one. The monkey trainer saw me, scratched Kenmi, who was on his shoulder, then thought about it. He looked around and found Tampa, who was watching the fun. You have participated in so many hunter exams. Sami poked Tampa. What should we do in this situation? Tampa, I have participated in so many hunter exams, but this has never happened before. Tampa thought for a while and said vaguely, the Hunter Association will set up an organizing committee for each hunter exam. We just need to call them and report the situation on the spot. The Hunter Association's airship was quietly parked on a flat ground near the wilderness. Chairman, there seems to be something wrong with the fourth round of exams. Mr. Beans, who received the news, immediately reported the matter to Netero. Just a little. Netero, who was sitting at the desk, had put on his sports clothes early. He stroked his beard and laughed. I feel like the situation should be more serious. Mr. Beans, if it is more serious, is it really okay for you to laugh like this, Chairman? Although there was a conflict between the examinee and the examiner this time, the party responsible is Moron Togari. The airship took off slowly, and Netero drank tea peacefully. The purpose of our hunter exam is to open to the world, regardless of any race, ethnicity, or occupation. Togari's actions are somewhat contrary to the purpose of our association. But as an examiner of the hunter exam, it is unacceptable to be beaten up by the examinee like this. Wow, Young people nowadays are really troublesome. They like to cause trouble to others. Wow. Mr. Beans, listening to your laughter and the smile on your face, you are obviously very happy about this situation, right? Conflicts between candidates and examiners have happened in the previous Hunter exam. But basically, the examiners suppressed the candidates. It was the first time in history that a candidate beat up the examiner. The Hunter Association had to deal with this kind of thing. The airship started quickly and headed towards the wilderness arena again. At the same time, the Hunter Association also learned about this matter in a certain meeting office. So I said at the time that professional hunters with extreme personalities and defects should just accept the Hunter Association's accountability investigation honestly. At the front of the rectangular conference table, Pariston, who was wearing a beige plaid suit and had golden hair, said with a smile. This vice chairman, who always had an unfathomable smile on his face, was now on fire. Now, there is a big disturbance in the Hunter exam because he made unreasonable rules to target the candidates. He was beaten up by the candidates. If such a thing is leaked, it will definitely tarnish the image of professional hunters in the Hunter Association. I also bear a certain responsibility for this matter. Pariston said very sincerely, but his words were heartbreaking. I shouldn't have trusted the advice of some veteran hunters in the Hunter Association too much. Chapter 65. The protagonist of the story is me. Pariston's heart-wrenching words continued. We chose to give this hunter, who is under investigation, a chance to make corrections. It turns out that a hunter like this cannot be given any chance to reform, because such a person has no concept of reflection at all. He will only continue to do his own thing. In the future, I will strictly implement the system of the Hunter Association and will not have any compassion. Pariston said it with great force, but all the Zodiac 12 present knew that this guy was targeting someone with every word. So you admit that this is your responsibility? The yellow-haired Kanzai with the code name Tiger pinched his nose and squinted at Pariston. Then you should just resign. Don't be the vice chairman. Of course, if you insist on committing suicide to apologize, it's also acceptable. As soon as these brainless words came out, Horse, Sachikobayakawa, and Dog, Cheadle Yorkshire next to him couldn't help shaking their head. Yeah, Mr. Kanzai's suggestion is very good. Pariston nodded with a smile and then looked at a tall figure in the middle of the long table. Mr. Botobai Giganti, do you have anything to say? Dressed in red and white makeup, with his hairs gathered into two bundles that look like flames, a long coat that has a flame-like collar with a dragon head symbol printed on the back, Botobai Giganti crosses arms. If you are responsible, then I will take the main responsibility. I interfered with the punishment of the Hunter Association. I want to give Togari a second chance to reform. If you really want to resign, then I should withdraw from the Zodiac 12 first. Kanzai, who was on the side, suddenly realized that this was not what he had thought. He wanted to speak again, but the Ox Mizistam Nana next to him threw a gag card. Shut up now. Mr. Botobai, you are joking. You are the pillar of our Zodiac 12 and the most straightforward man. Pariston smiled and waved his hand. If even someone like you resigns, then no one in the Hunter Association will be able to look up to us. Swish. The other Zodiac 12 all stared at him with a death gaze. Pariston's words scolded all the other Zodiac 12. His starting point is very good. It can only be said that Togari has failed Mr. Botobai's trust. Pariston comforted him very kindly on the surface. Just now, the chairman called me and said that the Hunter Exams Organizing Committee will solve this incident. Mr. Botobai, you don't have to worry. I know. After hearing this, Botobai Giganti was too embarrassed to sit down. Because of my personal emotional behavior, I even alarmed the chairman, who had to personally come to clean up the problems and mistakes in the Hunter Association's work caused by me. I am ashamed. After saying that, Botobai Giganti stood up from his seat, unwilling to stay there any longer. Pariston, the other Zodiac 12, who was smart, stared at Pariston, who remained smiling without any concealment. The other party seemed to be comforting Botobai Giganti, but in fact, every word was heartbreaking, exerting psychological pressure on the other party. Seeing that the other party was straightforward, he squeezed the other party in this way. He is worthy of being the most annoying man in the Zodiac 12. Why did Botobai Jigani leave? Kanzai touched his head, a little confused. Didn't the chairman personally go out? Why is he so lost and uncomfortable? Mizaistam Nana couldn't help shaking his head. Cheadle Yorkshire and Suchikobiakawa looked at each other and sighed in tacit understanding. What's wrong? Kanzai didn't realize that there was something wrong with him. Am I wrong? He looked at the sheep, Jinta at the opposite table, and asked. Jinta, a huge, emotional man wearing a sheep blue coat and fluffy wool curly hair, pondered for a moment. I don't think there's any problem either. You two idiots, shut up. Jel, who had been listening to the discussion in silence, couldn't help it when she heard this. She opened her snake-like vertical pupils and said coldly, if you don't speak, no one will treat you as dumb. Cluck, who was sitting in the corner and wearing open clothes with wings, sneered and said nothing. As for Peon, who was lying on the table and playing with her mobile phone, she kept tapping the pink mobile phone in her hand and didn't care about the discussion at all. This is the Zodiac 12 of the Hunter Association. There are smart people, calculating people, indifferent people, people who escape, and stupid people. All kinds of people have built the main framework of the current Hunter Association, while the Zodiac 12 expressed their opinions on this vicious incident. On the other side, the airship that Netero took also slowly arrived at the scene. Is it here? Lon raised his head and looked at the airship that appeared in the sky, and he was not surprised. In the second round of Hunter exam next year, Netero was asked to be present in person because of Menchie's willfulness. Now, there's a more serious situation than at that time. There is no reason for Netero not to be present. Or is it precisely because of the conflict between the examiner and the examinee this time that Netero will pay more attention to it next year? But in any case, these have no effect on Lon. He retracted his gaze and glanced at the Togari, who was now like a dead pig, motionless under his feet. Then he saw a blind box slowly condensed beside him that no one else could see. A high-level blind box emitting red light. The examinee beating up the examiner are all important plots this time. The only difference is that the protagonist of this plot is myself. Lon put away the red blind box. At this time, the airship had landed on the ground. The fourth round of exams is temporarily terminated. Mr. Beans came down from the airship first. Please go back to the airship and take a rest. The specific test arrangements will be announced to everyone in a little while. Mr. Beans, who entered the working mode in a serious manner, came out and the examinees had nothing to refuse. They all knew that the Hunter Association would intervene in this matter. So, no one refuted it, and they all walked down from the arena, honestly. And they didn't even look at Lon, Hisoka, and Togari. They kept their heads down and walked onto the airship one after another without saying a word. Chapter 66. See you next year, Chairman Mr. Lon. Please come with me. After all the candidates left, Mr. Bean sighed and invited Lon again. The chairman wants to see you. It was the familiar office, the familiar scene, and the familiar characters. But the blind box this time had obviously not been refreshed. Lon had to put aside the regret in his heart and sat there calmly, waiting for Netero's speech. To be honest, in my impression, you are not such an impulsive person. Netero poured Lon a cup of tea and brought it to him. Things like this shouldn't happen to you. You don't have to test me with these words. Lon reached out and touched the teacup. The tea in it was still quite hot. Tell me, how did the chairman deal with this incident this time? Well, according to the regulations issued by the Hunter Exam Organizing Committee this time, it is stated that if the examinee disagrees with the examiner's exam content and judgment results, he can appeal to the Hunter Association. Netero stroked his beard. According to the rules, students are not allowed to directly attack the examiner. But the examiner also can't directly attack the examinee, right? Lon asked lightly. Well, so Togari's status as examiner of this Hunter exam is canceled, Netero said frankly. And in view of his past mistakes and the extremely bad influence caused by this incident, he will be sentenced to nearly half a year in prison. Lon continued to look at him after hearing this. That's it. And his professional hunter status will be revoked, and his hunter license will be confiscated. Netero picked up the teacup in front of him. This is the biggest punishment from the Hunter Association. Well, The Hunter Association is just a non-governmental organization. The association only contracts work from the government or enterprises, and most of them are entrusted to the hunters belonging to the association. The biggest punishment they can offer is to confiscate Hunter's license and deprive him of his professional hunter status. However, even if he is deprived of his hunter status, he can still retake the exam if he wants to, right? Lon asked calmly. Well, the Hunter Association will not discriminate against anyone who signs up for the hunter exam. Netero nodded slightly. Whether it is a murderer or a mafia from the underworld. I understand. Lon has no objection to this. Anyway, with Togari's mindset, he will only think about how to take revenge on him next year. If he really comes for revenge at that time, then Lon really doesn't mind sending him to another world to meet the criminals he once arrested and sent to the guillotine. By the way, tell him what it means to fail in revenge and become a vassal. Of course, in view of your inappropriate behavior in the hunter exam this time. Netero stroked his beard lightly, with a smile on his face. You are disqualified as a candidate for this year's hunter exam. You seem to be happy to see me eliminated, Chairman. No way, hoo. You are laughing so happily. Please stop laughing before you speak. Anyway, you'll come again next year, right? Netero laughed. This year's hunter exam, just treat it as accumulating experience. Isn't this my word? Lon smacked his lips, picked up the teacup in front of him, and drank the tea in it. Then see you next year. In the boundless wilderness, Lon stood there, watching the Hunter Association's airship set sail. His journey of this hunter exam also ended here. So, where are you going next? A charming voice sounded behind Lon. Lon turned around and looked at the figure behind him. You don't seem to be disqualified, right? Isn't it because I saw you were left behind and worried that you would be lonely? You don't have to say it so misleadingly. I'm not interested in you. Lon declined the pervert. You don't have to say that. Hisoka smiled, and the poker cards in his hand kept spinning. I suddenly feel that the hunter exam without you is meaningless. So, I also plan to wait until next year and do it again with you. How do you know I will definitely come next year? Then will you come next year? Cool, me. Me too. He turned around and waved at Lon. Then, we'll see you next year. If we're lucky, maybe we won't have to wait until next year. After leaving behind such a meaningful sentence, Hisoka gradually disappeared. Don't we have to wait until next year? Lon glanced casually in the direction he left. I hope so. He stretched slightly. I have to do my own thing. It's rare for me to come out. It's a little too early to go back now. He took out the dino caps set from his storage space, picked out a capsule from it, and threw it to the ground. Puff! The purple smoke exploded and dissipated, revealing the aircraft inside. This is a very classic flying hovercraft in Dragon Ball that has no contact with the ground and floats in the air. It is really convenient to use it in this wilderness. At least he doesn't have to walk all the way from here. I'll go to Heaven's Arena to earn some pocket money first. Although Light No Strayed pays wages every month, it is better to have more spare money than nothing. Swoosh! The fast-moving hovercraft sped through the deserted wilderness. The 286 Hunter exam officially ended 2 days later. This year's pass rate is 0. Although there have been cases where candidates were wiped out in previous years, that was the candidate's own fault. This year's situation is a bit special. A candidate beat up the examiner. The candidates who were eliminated in the previous rounds heard such amazing news. Are you kidding me? The people who heard the news looked incredible. There's still such brave candidates this year. Yes, Omori, the youngest of the 3 Omori brothers, nodded in agreement. Tell me more. In the tavern, someone treated him very considerately. Boss, give me 2 glasses of fine wine. I'll treat you to this meal. So, under their hospitality, Omori had no intention of keeping it secret and told the whole story of this incident. After Lon and Hisoka left, Mr. Beans, the spokesperson of the Hunter Association, informed all the candidates on the airship about the situation and the results of the incident, including but not limited to deprivation of the examiner qualification for this round of exam, 6-month imprisonment, confiscation of hunter license, deprivation of the test qualification of the candidate involved, and a series of other results. As for the candidate No. 33, Hisoka, he was stripped of the subsequent qualification for this year's test because he left privately. The fourth round of exams will proceed normally and will be replaced by a new examiner. After hearing these announcements, all the candidates breathed a sigh of relief and became excited. It is great for a pervert murderer like Hisoka and a super dangerous person like Lon to leave. Moreover, both of them are extremely powerful, and they have to continue to occupy a place if they stay. It's just right that they left. The remaining candidates all felt that their chances of passing had increased a lot, just as they were rubbing their hands and preparing to pass this exam well. I am your examiner for the fourth round of exams. A tall and majestic figure stood in front of them. My name is Botobai Giganti. Please give me your guidance. When Botobai Giganti, who felt deeply ashamed and felt that he had to do something to make up for his mistake, came here to be the examiner of the fourth round of exams. The result of this exam was actually no suspense. Chapter 67, Serum. With Botobai Giganti's strictness, he didn't need to think about the result of this round of exam. In addition, he felt it was necessary to re-establish the prestige of the Hunter Association for these candidates. So he subconsciously raised the standard and took a heavy hand. The result was there was no qualified candidate this year. Originally, some candidates who were able to pass the exam were very excited because Lon and Hisoka were missing. So they began to publicize and spread the incident that happened in the Hunter exam among the candidates. On the Doll Harbor, at the passenger ship dock there, the drunk red-nosed captain who got the news sucked hard on the pipe in his mouth. You really chose to come back for another year. Didn't you say you were just here to gain experience? But you beat up the examiner. The drunk red-nosed captain thought that Lon would deliberately fail to complete the exam and be eliminated, or he would voluntarily give up. But he had never expected that the other party would leave in such a way. It's too unexpected. The drunk red-nosed captain sighed. But I think you are totally capable of doing such a thing. Thinking back to the exchanges with Lon, he couldn't help laughing again. He's really like Jing, a man who can stir up a storm wherever he goes. I hope that when I see you again next year, you could bring a different surprise. At the quizzing lady's place in the town. Really? Was he stripped of his status as a candidate for assaulting the examiner? After learning about this, the quizzing lady lay in a rocking chair with a peaceful smile. He doesn't look like the kind of kid who would mess around. Maybe there's something hidden, but wouldn't I be able to meet him again next year? I'm really looking forward to the new round of Hunter exam. Under the huge pine tree, inside the cabin. Sure enough, Lon still didn't pass. The Fox family was chewing on carrots. When they heard the news, the Fox's father bit off the entire carrot. Dad, with Lan's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to pass the exam, right? The Fox son had a hint of doubt. It's not a question of whether he can do it, but whether he wants to do it. But with his style of doing things, it's not like he would do something like beating up the examiner. Who knows what he's thinking? The Fox's father pounded the carrot and pondered. I can't even figure out that man's thoughts. Maybe he did this for his own purpose and reason. In any case, the news of Lon beating up the examiner spread quickly among the examinees and the examiners, and even to the entire professional hunter circle. In the office of the vice chairman of the Hunter Association, Lon, the leader of a bodyguard team of the Mafia family, Pariston took the information of this year's exam and smiled as he looked at Lan's information twice more. As the leader of a bodyguard team of a Mafia family, he chose to take the Hunter license exam. It's really a good idea. He casually threw this document into the pile of information next to him. I don't know if he will come again next year. If he beats up the examiner again next time, what kind of impact will it have on the chairman? It's really exciting. Dark words whispered in this bright office. The outside world has not yet reached Lon. At this time, he has once again come to the Heavens Arena, where he has been before. But this time, he is a contestant. After filling out the registration form at the registration office, Lon waited for his number to be called in the waiting room. At the same time, he took stock of the gains from this Hunter exam. The white blind box is not considered much, and the uncommon blind box, Tanpa and Hisoka each provide one. The last part of beating the examiner also provides a red blind box, and the red blind box provided by the beating examiner. Lon also opened on the way here. Get the high-level blind box. Do you want to open it? Opens successfully. Get Calypso Serum. Source World. Marvel. Because Togari looks like a wild hunter, are the things that come out also related to Hunter? Lon looked at the items in the storage space and quickly focused on Calypso Serum. This Calypso Serum is the power that Craven, the hunter, obtains. His real name is Sergei Kravenov. He is a Russian's descendant. He started hunting to regain his sense of lost nobility. He is a crazy hunter who is keen on hunting games. Unlike other hunters who use guns or bows and arrows, Craven usually designs traps and baits before fighting to weaken the strength of the prey and then subdue it. The passion and talent for hunting attracted Craven to Africa, where he met a witch who used voodoo. From that witch, he obtained a mysterious potion that can prolong life and grant beast-like strength, namely Calypso Serum. He began to feel bored with ordinary hunting and used the new potion to enhance his abilities. As one of the founding members of the Sinister Six, he started hunting Spider-Man with other villains and has been obsessed with hunting Spider-Man for a long time. Craven once tried to prove that he was the greatest hunter in the world by defeating Spider-Man. Craven failed in many battles between the two sides, but once he defeated Spider-Man, he thought he had reached the peak of his life and committed suicide. The reason for making such a choice is also related to his beastly personality affected by the Calypso Serum. Indeed, this Calypso Serum can bring powerful strength to people. At the peak state of taking Calypso Serum, Craven has the strength to lift about 2 tons of weight. He also has super speed and can accelerate to 60 miles in a short distance, which is about 97 kilometers per hour. Moreover, this Calypso Serum will greatly slow down the aging process of people. Craven was over 70 years old when he died, but his appearance was like a young man. Although the increase in age will affect him, his agility, reaction ability, physical strength, and endurance will also be enhanced. With so many benefits, this Calypso Serum has only 2 defects. The first is that while having so many benefits, it will influence one's personality. Secondly, this Calypso Serum needs to be taken continuously to keep the state at its peak. If it is interrupted in the middle, although it will still give people strong physical strength and the agility of top athletes, but there will be no superhuman ability. Lon estimated that this Calypso Serum can be opened from the red blind box, most of which has the effect of greatly slowing down the aging process of people. Nothing that can be related to life and lifespan is a simple item. If he doesn't consider the side effects of affecting personality, it can also be regarded as a life-saving potion that grants a buff and improves various physical skills at a critical moment. It's just like the potion that improves the state in the game. Not to mention that this Calypso Serum is also of high research value if it is used for research and analysis. If it is really in the hands of some excellent scientists, maybe it can really analyze the composition and be mass-produced. There are all kinds of magical and incredible none in the world. Lon believes that there are definitely people who can do this. When I meet the right person, I can give him this Calypso Serum and the materials of Universal Capsule to see if he can develop it. Lon thought so, and suddenly, his name sounded from the loudspeaker. Chapter 68. Sweeping the Heavens Arena. He gathered his thoughts, followed the instructions of the loudspeaker, and walked to the center of his own ring. He, another tender little guy. Across from Lon stood a guy with black skin and white martial arts clothes who looked neither fish nor fowl. Grinning with yellow rotten teeth, he said with a smile, "I will love you well." The game begins. Bang! Lon didn't even look at the other side and shook his hand expressionlessly. It's a pity that I can only use weapons after reaching the 200th floor. Amid the exclamations of the surrounding audience, he whispered with some disdain, "Otherwise, I don't even need to take action." This way, if he meets such a disgusting guy again, he can just use the power pole to sweep them away directly. However, once he reaches the 200th floor, there will be no bonus but the so-called fame and glory. Fame and glory? Can it make him stronger? Can it be used as a meal? Contestant Lon, go to the 50th floor. The referee on the scene was the first to come to his senses. After all, he had witnessed many large-scale fighting matches. After checking the opponent's inability to get up, he immediately announced Lan's promotion. Similarly, he also received 152 Jenny of exhibition fees. Whether he wins or loses on the first floor, he can get a bonus of 152 Jenny, which is about the price of a can of juice. However, if he loses the next game, there will be no bonus. If he wins on the 50th floor he could get about 50,000 Jenny. The subsequent floors will receive corresponding bonuses according to the level. There will be about 1 million bonuses on the 100th floor and more than 10 million bonuses on the 150th floor and above. If he wins the 190th floor, he can get a bonus of about 200 million Jenny. However, the competition after the 200th floor is only for fame and glory, and there is no prize money. So, if it is just for the prize money, he can stop and go home after winning the 190th floor. There are also many scumbags who like to play crooked ways among the contestants above the 200th floor. Lon tossed the coin in his hand. They should have some savings, right? Thinking of this, some strange ideas emerged in his mind. And just when Lon went to the 50th floor, in a dark corner of the audience, a man with waist-length hair, a green coat, and black trousers compared the information and photos in his hand. His skin was extremely white, and in this dim corner, it could not cover his skin. But the strange thing was that the people around him did not notice his existence at all. Is the person Hisoka wants to get the information. After determining the target, he nodded and put the information in his arms. It's just a search for information, not an assassination. It seems Hisoka has found a suitable target again. After this thought briefly emerged, it quickly disappeared. He only needs to obtain enough information, according to the commission. Everything else has nothing to do with him. This is the good professional ethics that their family has always upheld. He quietly disappeared into the crowd and began his work. Lon climbed to the 50th floor and continued to show his strength. None of the enemies in front of him could stand up to him. After the referee announced the start of the fight, the opponents basically fell down. When he met some dirty-mouthed guys and those who behave in a rather vulgar and mean manner, Lon didn't mind letting them experience the feeling of having their teeth knocked out. In this way, starting from the 50th floor, he bulldozed his way to the 100th floor, the 130th floor, the 150th floor, all the way to the 190th floor. His progress was so fast that he almost sprinted to the top floor that ordinary fighters could reach. 200 million Jenny are easily deposited. At the counter, specializing in collecting bounties, he took the bank card account from the working lady. Land's own assets also easily broke through 9 figures. If he was just an ordinary person, it would be enough to live a good life. But this is not enough. Lon flicked the passbook and put it away with his backhand. The real money-making business is above the 200th floor. As Lon climbed to the upper floors at a very fast speed, every battle was as clean and neat as a crushing victory. Inevitably, he also attracted the attention of many fighting fans and high-level players on the top floor. Another powerful newcomer. In a room above the 200th floor, 3 guys dressed in strange clothes gathered here. He made a lot of noise, and he looks very strong. Castro made a bigger noise than him back then, but what happened? He was beaten up by Hisoka and disappeared. He looks very young, and he must feel that he has made great progress in his practice. So he came to Heaven's Arena to challenge everyone. This is indeed the best place to make a name for themselves, and he is quite capable of fighting all the way to the 200th floor. This is a completely different world from the floors below. He's coming to register soon. Do you want to go and see? It's also good to go and see the qualifications of the newcomers. 3 men who seemed to come from the underworld were whispering to each other and occasionally bursting into creepy laughter. In the elevator leading to the 200th floor. Starting from this level, the application battle system will be adopted, and each fighter will have a 90-day battle preparation period. The elevator operator programmatically explains the rules here to every contestant who reaches more than 200 floors. You can choose to participate in the competition on any day during this period. After each battle, you can get a recalculated 90-day battle preparation period. But if you do not participate in the battle within the stipulated 90 days, you will be disqualified. On this floor, you only need to win 10 games to pass. But if you have lost 4 games before winning 10 games, you will be disqualified. If you can win this floor, you can challenge the floor master to monopolize this floor and become the new floor master, enjoying a reputation and living a worry-free life. Lon listened to the information, which was not different from what he knew, and he looked at the elevator operator while pretending to listen. The people working in the Heavens Arena are not ordinary people. The elevator operator can easily beat Killua and Gon, and the lady in charge of registration cannot be affected by Hisoka's malicious nun. Not to mention how strong they are, but at least they must have practiced the 4 major principles of nun. Welcome to take this elevator again next time. With a polite smile from the elevator operator, Lon walked out of the elevator and crossed the long corridor. Soon, he found a registration office and filled out his information. He signed and asked, "If I want to fight tomorrow, can it be arranged?" According to the rules, as long as you register, you can choose a date to fight at any time within 90 days. Chapter 69. Shock the audience. The floor clerk introduced. Tomorrow is also possible, but the premise is that there must be a player who chooses the same date as you to fight tomorrow, so that the two of you could be arranged to fight. I understand. Lon put down the pen in his hand and then looked at the dark corridor next to him. So did you all hear it? If anyone wants to fight me, you can arrange a match tomorrow. In the dim corridor, 3 ghostly figures emerged. Are you so confident? The hedgehog-headed man with a yellow headscarf sitting in an electric wheelchair on the left chuckled. Looks like he's also a guy who knows how to use nun, right? The masked man on the right, with gray hair, a white mask, a long robe, and an empty left hand, smiled and said, "After all, he's a newcomer. He feels invincible with a little power." This kind of vigorous, high-spirited, and confident mental state. It really makes me want to trample him. The man in the middle, wearing a red cloak and looking like a spinning top, knocked the cane in his hand hard. "Leave tomorrow's battle to me. I want to let this newcomer who doesn't know the height of the world feel the horror of the world above these 200 floors. The 200 floors of the Heavens Arena belong to the world of nun users. There are often fighters who have fought to the 200th floor, but don't know what nun is and rush in. Then, they are greeted by initiation, an attack using nun. Those who can't withstand initiation will naturally die here. Those who were lucky enough to barely survive were those who opened their aura nodes. However, these people suffered various kinds of damage to their bodies during the process and became disabled. In addition, they had no systematic knowledge and methods of learning nun, so they could only practice themselves to death and wander at the entrance of the 200th floor. By deceiving and bullying newcomers, they could get the qualification to continue to stay on the 200th floor. The person in front of him who is good at playing spinning tops is a typical example of them. Lon is not interested in their strength and behavior. But after staying in the Heaven Arena for such a long time, they're familiar with this place, not to say that they know everything about it. It just so happens that Lon also has something to do and needs to find them to talk about his ideas of making a lot of money in Heaven Arena. Well, today's match is an eye-catching one. The huge arena was filled with people, and many fighting fans filled the seats. Lon reached the 200th floor with overwhelming momentum. The young lady with double ponytails and dressed in commentary clothes was full of energy and passionately introduced the situation on the scene. His opponent in this match is Jido, who has maintained a single win so far. On the other side is a dazzling newcomer who reached the 200th floor in his first participation. The other side is an old-fashioned fighter who has been working on the 200th floor for many years and has defeated many newcomers every year. Who of the two will win in the end? Let's wait and see. In the arena, Lon and Jido have already stood firm amid the cheers of the audience. Start. After the referee waved his arm, he officially announced the start of the fight. "Little brat, you're lucky to meet me in your first match." Jido's voice was full of confidence. He raised his palm, and a spinning top wrapped in and spun at high speed as he tapped his fingertips. "I don't have much strength, so I won't let you die." The cane in his hand took the spinning tops, and in an instant, an identical spinning top appeared on the cane. It appeared! The commentator shouted. Jido's dancing tops. Being able to manipulate 10 spinning tops to attack the enemy at will is Jido's unique skill. Many players have fallen under this move of his. As soon as the words fell, Jido instantly sent a spinning top to land's directions. Watch out! My unique skill, the battle waltz. 10 spinning tops infused with none spun at high speed on the ring. In the blink of an eye, Lon was surrounded in the center. Hee. After I inject none into the spinning tops, they can continue to spin for several hours and will continue to attack you. The movements of the spinning tops are complex and changeable. Even I can't predict them. You are now completely trapped in the encirclement. He pushed the crutch in his hand down as if he had already won. Jido's spinning tops have been deployed and will launch attacks one after another. The commentator was very emotional, so facing the spinning tops coming from all directions, Lon seems to be in a big crisis. How can he avoid the attacks of these spinning tops? Ding, ding, ding. One after another, spinning tops collided fiercely in the air and on the ring. Avoid? Why should I avoid it? Lon just took a look at the scene and then reached out to grab it. A high-speed spinning top that was ejected by the collision was accurately grasped in his hand. What? Jido, who was about to watch the opponent being knocked down, was suddenly startled. He caught it. The commentator outside the venue fully demonstrated her good qualities of supporting the main character. Jido's dancing tops was caught so easily by Lon. You know, these spinning tops have caused countless newcomers a lot of trouble in previous battles, and even veteran fighters have a big headache. And now Lon easily holds the spinning tops in his hand. Could it be that he has seen through Jido's battle waltz moves? Crack! Amid the exclamations of the audience, Lon exerted force in his hand and easily crushed the top. My spinning tops! Jido's face changed drastically under the red cloak, and then he heard the comments from the other side. He poured none into the spinning tops, increased the power of the spinning tops, and maintained the rotation speed of the spinning tops. But he couldn't control the direction of the spinning tops collision at all. Lon caught another flying spinning top and crushed it again. This use of none is really very rough. He looked at the 8 remaining spinning tops at his feet, and then looked at Jido, who was stiff on the opposite side, and said with a smile, "The none poured into the spinning tops doesn't seem to be very strong." Jido, "Oh no, I met a master." Under the big red cloak, he broke out in cold sweat. He originally thought that the other party was a rookie who could be easily controlled. Who would have thought that the other party was a beast in human skin? This understanding of none and the power to crush the spinning top filled with none easily. Obviously, he is not a small fry. Is this time a brick wall? Jido, sweating profusely, realized that the situation was not good and knew that he had met a tough guy. He opened his mouth and wanted to admit defeat directly to save his little lamp. Then he saw Lon on the opposite side, took out a red stick. Then, swoosh, the red stick was swung. Chapter 70. Even a dung beetle has its own value. Crack. All the spinning tops he placed on the ring were blown up. Jido's spinning tops were all blown up. The commentator couldn't hide her excitement and shouted, "It's hard to imagine that land stick could break the battle waltz so easily." This is the first time Jido has faced such a dilemma. So what would he do next? What else can I do? All the weapons I control have been blown up. What do you think I should do? As far as we know, Jido has another ultimate move that combines offense and defense. Tornado Top. Will he take this ultimate blow and start a Jedi counterattack? Jido, thank you so much for reminding me that I still have this move. But the opponent easily exploded his own spinning top. If he really used that trick, the next one to be exploded is me. Jido's throat rolled, and he no longer had any desire to fight. Tornado Top? The name is quite good. Lon held the power pole in his hand and tapped it in his palm. Then, show it to me. He smiled with interest. It's just right for me to experiment and see what the difference is between pulling a small and a big spinning top. Will the feel be a little different? After saying that, he really looked Jido up and down, as if looking for a suitable position to start. Jido. In the end, Lon still failed to pull a big spinning top. Jido was very decisive and chose to admit defeat directly. For this reason, he also saved the last bit of face in life. However, the fight in the ring was over, but below the ring. What are you doing? In the exit channel, Jido was startled by Lon, who suddenly blocked his way. Not only him, but also Realvelt and Sedeso, the 2 good friends next to him. They looked nervously at the seemingly harmless man in front of them with fear. Don't be so nervous. Lon smiled and waved his hand. I'm not here to fight with you. I want to talk to you about something, and by the way, see if we can do some business and cooperate. Talk? Business? Sedeso immediately refused. We have nothing to cooperate with you about. Realvelt followed up. That's right, we don't have any business with you at all. Don't be like that, Lon said without hesitation. You have to believe in yourself. Even a dung beetle has its own value of existence. You are the same. The trio, are you sure you are here to discuss cooperation with us, and not to deliberately belittle us? If I really had any bad thoughts about you, you would have fallen when we first met. Lon said the cruel truth. After I come here and talk to you, it's already a great favor to you. The corners of his mouth slowly raised an arc, and his tone gradually returned to normal. I said, this is a notice, not a request. Of course, if someone is unwilling to cooperate. Lon slightly turned sideways, revealing the gun on his waist. Then I don't mind taking some other ways and means. Jido, Realvelt, and Sedeso. Well, this is already a direct and naked threat. But this way, the haze in the hearts of the trio has dissipated a little. Well, at least it proves that the three of them are still useful and the other party is not deliberately seeking revenge. They are safe for the time being. What do you want to ask? Sedeso changed the way of addressing things with sincerity. Let's find a secluded place to talk. Lon looked around. After all, what we want to talk about is also something shameful. The trio. In the end, the trio had to invite Lon to the luxurious room where they were. What do you need us to do? Realvelt, sitting in a wheelchair, asked carefully. We will do our best to help you complete it within our capabilities. Well, the subtext means that if it is beyond our ability and tolerance, then we will find it difficult to continue. Don't worry. With your ability, I won't let you do anything complicated. Lon comforted them to make them relax. The trio. It seems to be true, but why does it sound so uncomfortable? I just want to know how to bet in the Heavens Arena. Lon asked about his real purpose. The Heavens Arena is a fighting competition, and there will definitely be winners and losers. Then, naturally, there will be bets and gambling. The ticket money for watching the game is just a small profit channel for the Heavens Arena. Among the many ways to make money, betting is one that cannot be ignored. The Heavens Arena can always make a lot of money by being the banker. According to normal reason, in order to prevent match fixing, fighters are not allowed to place bets in the Heavens Arena. Sedeso understood what the dangerous man in front of him wanted to do in an instant and immediately reminded him. Even if the fighter himself does not show up, it is not impossible to entrust other agents to place bets on his own loss or win. Once found out, they will face the highest penalty in the Heavens Arena. The highest penalty? Lon didn't care. What would they do? Well, once it is verified that there is a match fixing. First, all betting income from the match fixing will be confiscated, and second, they will be expelled from Heavens Arena and will never be allowed to fight here again. Jido introduced honestly. Once there is any resistance or disobedience, Heavens Arena will immediately dispatch the cleaning robots and the recruited floor master to chase and intercept the rebels. Realvelt added. In this process, life and death are not a concern. Lon waited for a while and found that the three had nothing to add, so he couldn't help but ponder the so-called cleaning robots. After Jed and others from the Shadow organization broke in, Shura took control of the machinery and equipment of the entire building, including the cleaning robots. Then, Shura just gave gone, and the others caused some trouble. If the Heavens Arena is really that powerful, it wouldn't be so easily beaten by Jed and the others that they couldn't fight back. At least considering the power of this place, Lon should be fearless. Sedeso and the other two looked at each other, and it seemed that they had made the seriousness of the problem very clear. But this one didn't seem to care at all. Lon looked up and down at the three people. How much money do you have? Chapter 71. We are both from Meteor City. Realvelt and the other two were suddenly nervous, and they also knew what Lon was going to do next. All our income is used to maintain the battle here, Sedeso said hurriedly, and Realvelt and Jido beside him nodded repeatedly. At present, The combined assets left on us may not be as much as the reward you get from fighting all the way up here. Seeing Lon raise his eyebrows, Jaido immediately suggested, in this Heaven's Arena, there's an official loan business specially open for the casino. If you don't have enough money, you can go there to borrow. But if you're a fighter, if you want to participate in the betting after borrowing, will you be exposed soon? Lon asked, so, besides the official, are there any private loan businesses? Jaido said embarrassedly, there is, but the requirements may be a little special. Special. After the introduction from Sadeso and the other two, Lon came to a remote alley near the Heavens Arena. If you're a fighter, you can borrow from private parties, and it is easy to borrow a large amount. Lon walked in this dark and humid environment. In addition to the high interest rate, I also need to explain in detail the time of my fight and the result I want to get. Lon stood at the door of the room, which looked shabby but was actually very clean. It seems that this lender also wants to have fun with the betting. Ding ding din. Lon knocked on the door lightly. Squeak. Soon, the door opened, revealing a petite figure. Stitching or borrowing? The purple hair looked even more beautiful under the moonlight, and she was wearing a neat white training suit, plus a black and purple belt wrapped around her waist, which meant that she was not as weak as an ordinary girl. Borrowing. Lon looked at the familiar face in front of him, smiled, and said, I was introduced by an acquaintance, and I know all the rules. That's good. Maki nodded calmly. It saves me from talking. She opened the door. Come in. Excuse me. Lon walked in, thinking that he could see a girl's room, but found that it was just a simple and shabby cubicle. There was only a table, a counter, and an old computer that was about to be retired, and a blind box emitting blue light. What's your name? Maki came to the computer very familiarly and opened the official website of Heaven's Arena. Lon said while quietly putting away the blue blind box. This is the blind box from Maki Kamasin, who's member 3 of the Phantom Troop. As a rare beauty in the hunter world, she has a beautiful face, a cold demeanor, a strong character, and excellent abilities. Coupled with her extraordinary personality, she has attracted a large number of fans. It can be said that she is the most popular female character, no one else. She has a delicate appearance, but a strong character that is inconsistent with her appearance, and her intuition is very accurate. At the same time, she also has the same shortcomings as number 18 in Dragon Ball and Nami in One Piece. She is very keen on money, so, apart from the gathering activities of the Phantom Troop, her movements are basically in this Heaven Arena. Using her Nun ability, Nun Stitches, she transforms Nun into thread to suture the injured flesh. She can perfectly connect blood vessels, bones, muscles, and nerves quickly, and the patient can move it immediately after she stitches up wounds. Maki uses this skill to do the stitching business in the Heavens Arena, and the business seems to be quite good. Of course, in addition to stitching, she also used the money she earned to start a loan shark business. How much do you want to borrow? After checking that this player does exist and can match the personal information in the photo, Maki nodded gently. How much can you lend now? Lon asked back. This is the first transaction. I don't know you well, but I can lend you a maximum of 100 million Jenny. Maki replied calmly. When they don't know each other, and it's the first time to cooperate, she directly offered 100 million Jenny. Lon thought for a while. Can it be more? Since we are both from Meteor City? Meteor City? Hearing this word, Maki raised her head for the first time and looked Lon straight in the eye. Are you also from Meteor City? Her brows slowly frowned. But I don't feel anything like atmosphere from Meteor City in you. Meteor City is a magical place, Lon said with a smile. It's not strange what kind of people are born there, isn't it? That makes sense. Maki agreed with Lan's statement, but her eyes were unmoved. But I don't think I ever said that I was born in Meteor City. Squeak. The shabby wooden door that seemed fragile was now slammed shut. The thin threads, invisible to the naked eye, began to wrap around the entire compartment, densely covering every blind spot. When Lon said, "We all came from Meteor City," with Maki's alertness, she immediately chose to close the entire space. So, the conversation just now was just to delay time and fully arrange your home court, right? After taking a look at the threads all over the field, Lon spread his hands slightly. There's no need to mobilize so many traps. I have the final say on whether to move or not. The thin and long threads, which are enough to easily strangle the enemy, are wrapped around Maki's fingertips. Her eyes were as cold as ever. Now, you can answer my questions properly. Can I understand this as an interrogation? Lon looked at the thread, jumping on Maki's fingertips with admiration. Has anyone told you that you have artistic talent and can weave the most beautiful works of art even without doing suturing and killing? I only know that someone mentioned to me that my silk thread is the most suitable for binding and strangling the enemy. The breath on her body became colder and colder. The reason why she hasn't taken action yet is that she wants to get more information about Lon through conversation and distract his attention to find the most appropriate time and angle to attack. Facing an opponent who doesn't understand the situation in her own home court, Maki has plenty of patience. Has someone mentioned it before? Feeden? I remember he seems to like interrogation the most. Lon thought for a while. Or is it that guy, Hisoka? He always looks at things from a very strange perspective. After he said this, the atmosphere in the compartment suddenly became more solemn. The undisguised killing intent rushed towards Lon. It seems that you know more than I thought. Lon smiled faintly. When I faced Hisoka, he said the same thing as you. Maki's body was already ready, whether it was the thread in her hand or the condensed aura she secretly gathered. She was always ready to find the right opportunity to defeat the enemy with one move. Chapter 72. I know almost everything I should know, however. At present, the man in front of her with her eyesight could not see any flaws. It is not an exaggeration to say that there is no blind spot. Such a situation rarely exists in her past combat experience, or even almost does not exist, and this means that the man in front of him is definitely not that simple. In fact, I don't have any bad intentions. You should be able to feel this. After such a stalemate, Lon raised one hand. If I really had any other ideas after coming in, I would not directly mention Meteor City and borrow money according to the normal process. This way, I would not cause any alarm. Of course, if you really don't trust me. The smile on Lan's face also gradually became elusive at this moment. Then I can only use the most simple and purest truth in the world to prove the authenticity of my words. Boom! The tyrannical aura instantly burst out from Lan's body, and the surging aura almost burst the threads around him. The palm knife, wrapped around by Nun, seemed to be able to tear the entire space apart. Such Nun, Maki's pupils shrank slightly. The face that had been calm all the time finally showed a change. It was the first time she had ever seen such a vast amount of Nun in her life. Is this okay? In the next second, the powerful aura slowly subsided, as if the raging sea had turned into calm waves again. Lon smiled and looked at Maki in front of him. The latter remained silent. Through the previous actions, the other party's meaning was already quite clear. I am very strong. At least it is no problem to kill you easily. If I really want to harm you, there's no need to be so troublesome. Just come up and kill you directly. The meaning is simple and crude, but Maki got it. And to be honest, using such a seemingly disrespectful method is actually very intuitive and clear. At least, Maki's bloodlust gradually shrank back. Well, mainly because she also understood that it was useless to release such bloodlust in front of Lon. So, can we have a good chat? Lon asked with his hands folded on his chest. What are you talking about? Maki's vigilance did not decrease at all. Of course, I'm talking about whether I can borrow extra money, Lon said, as a matter of course. Do you want me to ask about your Phantom Troop? Not to mention that I am not interested in it. Even if I really want to ask you, will you tell me? Maki was silent, and then slowly came to the computer. What else do you know? She tapped the keyboard with one hand, but her eyes were always fixed on Lon. I know almost everything I should know. Lan's fingers moved on his arm. Your Phantom Troop members' code names, rules, everyone's style of doing things, etc. Before I left Meteor City, I went to the house of your new member, Shizuku, to check in. Do you even know the name of our new member? Even I only know that there is such a person, but I haven't met her yet. Maki frowned secretly. How do you know us so well? She no longer restrained herself and asked directly, "You know us so well. Is there any purpose?" As a citizen from Meteor City, it is impossible not to have heard of Phantom Troop. Lon selectively answered vaguely. As for the purpose, it may be that I think there will be a chance to deal with each other in the future, so I want to learn about it in advance. Deal. Well, it's a kind of man's intuition. Hearing the word intuition from others, Maki's expression changed slightly. She has always relied on her own accurate intuition to help herself and the team solve many problems. Now, another guy mentioned intuition, or what kind of man's intuition. Maki suddenly felt that the more she asked questions, the more questions she had. At this moment, she wisely chose to stop in time and kept silent. After operating the computer for a while, she got up and walked into the room behind the cubicle. Her actions were not concealed at all. Just as Lon showed, if he really came with bad intentions, her room would have been demolished long ago. This is 200 million Jenny. Maki came back with 2 large gray packages and put them on the table with a bang. According to the rules, you have to tell me the results of your fight. Maki said calmly. She lends money not just to earn the interest. She wants to lend money specifically to the players to get the results of their fight. The day after tomorrow's fight, bet on me to win. Lon waved his hand, and 2 large gray packages disappeared on the table. I'll give you another fight. The day after tomorrow's fight, bet on me to lose. Looking at the empty table, Maki raised her eyebrows. She was sure that she had been maintaining the state of Gyo, but she did not see the other party's action of putting away the package clearly. Moreover, there was no slight fluctuation in none. Is it his own inability? No, it doesn't look like. Maki's face was calm, but her heart was beating, and at the same time, her eyes glanced at the screen on the computer without leaving a trace. When I leave the Heavens Arena, I will return all the principal and interest. Lon clapped his hands, looked at Maki again, and smiled. Do you want a contact number? In addition to these 2 games, there will be other results of the subsequent games, and I will send them to you in advance. It's really a reason that people can't refuse. Maki gave Lon one of her phone numbers. That's it. After getting the money, Lon, who was in a good mood, made jokes. I thought that according to your style.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.